Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of GRAFFTV. Tonight, we have a classic graffiti supervillain in studio. With an infamous career that spans over 40 years, this vandal has risen to legendary status. Not only by elevating one name to infamy, but two names to infamy. A rare and difficult accomplishment in graffiti. Ladies and gentlemen, help me in welcoming the creator of one of the greatest crews in Los Angeles history, GRAFFTV's 2024 MVP. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the TKO god himself, the infamous Dr. Toomes, aka TOOMER TKO crew. Yeah! Dr. Toomes, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Good.
Hello, doctor. Is there anything I could be assistance of?
No, I'm good.
Wow, what an entrance, Dr. Toomes. Thank you. Dr. Toomes, it's great to have you in studio today. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, very good.
Today we have something different, as you can see. Dr. Toomes is sitting on a throne built for a graffiti king. Can you tell us about this throne, Dr. Toomes? Why do you choose to sit on a throne?
This Iron Throne was built for my art show September 14th. It'll be there at the Mission Viejo Mall for all to sit on and take photos. You know what I mean? I pretty much built it for everybody to enjoy.
Dr. Toomes, are you always looking for ways to be more creative? Do you always have creative ideas that you need to pull off?
Yeah, I'm constantly coming up with different ideas. You know, I've been an art director for a lot of murals for years, you know. I've helped out a lot of different artists, both MCs, DJs, and graffiti writers, you know. I inspire a lot of people to do a lot of different things and push themselves, push the limit.
With your throne specifically, how long does it take you to build? Does anyone help you with it?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely have a great team. This actually took 4 days to build, 500 spray cans, and I had my buddies at Imperial Paint and Surfaces help me, Sam and Benny, which, you know, they do a lot of different movie sets and a lot of different creative things with me, you know, like I like to hang out with a lot of different artists, some that are MCs, some that are DJs, some that are painters, different creatives, you know, it helps you do a lot more creative stuff.
What does everyone say when you tell them about your throne idea? Do they try to talk you out of it? Do they say it's impossible?
Oh no, everybody I work with is pretty much they're creative too, you know, so they want to do other creative stuff. And then, you know, this was just kind of like, you know what, if I'm going to show up and I'm going to do an interview, I want to elevate, you know, bring fun back into graffiti, you know.
What was the toughest part about creating a throne?
Getting the spray cans. You know, hauling those 500 spray cans out of a yard, I mean, the funnest part was using them all, you know, painting on the streets, painting on some trains. But yeah, it was a fun thing to do. I'm glad I did it, and there's gonna be a lot more different things, you know.
A throne is definitely the right kind of chair for you. Thank you again for joining us, Dr. Toomes. I'd love to get started with the interview, but first, I want to know more about your big art show with Cope 2 and 3rd. It's called the Dysfunctional Function Art Show at the Mission Viejo Mall on Saturday, September 14th at 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Can you tell us more about that? Who else is going to be there? And what can we see besides your throne?
Oh, there's going to be so much amazing art. I mean, this throne is just one piece, just one thing out of so many things. That place is going to be so packed with so many things. I don't want to give it out. I want people to be surprised and amazed of the guest superstars that are going to be there. And, you know, we got the Funk Freaks DJing it. You know, we got DJ Julian from the Psycho Realm. He's DJing there. And, BJ's restaurants and brewery is sponsoring food for everybody, and so it's a great time. It's going to be a good time.
Thank you, man. That sounds an event that we can't miss. We can't wait for your art show September 14th, and we'll definitely be there as well, man. Thank you for the invite. Now, Dr. Toombs, I want to learn about your supervillain origins, starting with your early life, man. Where are your parents from originally? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, well, my mom was born in Mérida, Yucatan. She spoke Mayan. She passed away last year, and I took care of her for many years. That's why I kind of like laid back on doing Graff, because she felt ill with Alzheimer's. So I was taking care of her for many years, and I kind of like pushed back my career to make sure she was okay. And but she taught me a lot of things. I think a lot of my creative comes from her. She was also in the movie Infamy with me, so a lot of people have seen her before. But I got a lot of creativity out of her. I used to make my own toys growing up, like Dead skulls, sugar skulls and stuff, and it's because of my Mayan roots, She spoke Mayan, and, pretty much her job was going to pyramids with her horse and taking American and British tourists to the pyramids,
As you mentioned, your mother and your grandmother spoke Mayan, actually. Yes. Do you ever pick up the language yourself? And can you understand it?
I can understand some of it, but no, I never picked it up, and I really regret that. I should have really spent more time learning her roots, and
Does your mother or grandmother ever share with you ancient Mayan advice or words of Mayan wisdom with you?
Well, they're both passed away, so if they did, I would be pretty spooked. But I know they got my back, and I know that I've survived a lot of stuff in these streets, Los Angeles, because they're always looking down and taking care of me,
Does your mother and your grandmother ever share any ancient Mayan history that people don't know about and that would be surprised to learn?
Well, yeah, they told me a lot of things when that 2020 thing, the end of the calendar, and people were freaking out, they were all scared. And they were like, that's not what it means. That's not what they're saying. It was the end of an era, a cycle, So, I was never like buying all kinds of waters and, like when people are panicking and all that, because my mom was like, that's not what they're saying. That's not what this whole thing about,
Now, Dr. Toombs, back to you. Where were you born? Were you born in Mexico? Were you born in California?
I was born in Los Angeles, in East LA, at the Mission Hospital.
What part of Los Angeles did you grow up in?
Well, early I lived in Pico Union area, and then I moved out from there when I was like about 11 to South Los Angeles, the Huntington Park area, and I was pretty much, always traveling. I had a lot of friends from all over, the country and all over the world, so I was always traveling. I never just stayed in one place.
Are you the youngest, oldest, middle child?
I'm the middle child.
Can you describe what your parents were like growing up? Were they strict? Were they...
Oh yeah, my dad was pretty strict, but he was gone, He took off when I was young, and it left me to, help out my mom and just, become the man real quick, early.
It said that growing up, you would actually go to church and to the market and back home with your mom. Is that correct? Can you tell us about those early years in your life?
Yeah, well, that's kind of how I even saw graffiti. Like, I never had like graffiti magazines, and there was no internet back then. So when I would go as a kid to the store with my mom, I would see this guy up, and he wasn't even a graffiti writer. He was a gang member. I would see him up, and then I would go to church with her, and then I would see him up across the street, and then everywhere I go, I would see him up, and it just kind of popped into my head. I was like, yo, that's cool. So basically, graffiti is about putting your name everywhere. And I always thought that was pretty cool, you know what I mean?
It sounds like before hip-hop style of graffiti, you noticed gang style of graffiti. Can you describe to us the differences between the two, and why did the gang style of graffiti catch your eye instead of the hip-hop?
Where I grew up, it was just more gang graffiti than hip-hop style, New York style graffiti. It was just abundantly everywhere, But I knew the difference, and the differences, pretty much territorial, your barrio where you grew up at your hood, and when you mark the walls, you're pretty much letting everybody know, this is their hood, and, beware. And then graffiti is more about getting up. It's about your name and just bombing, being all city,
As you're seeing graffiti at this young age, what are you up to before graffiti? Are you into skateboards? Are you into video games? What is a young Dr. Toombs doing before graffiti?
Comic books, and, there was a mixture of pop locking and breaking at that time when I was young. Breaking was a lot, everywhere. So, I got introduced to, music from Curtis Blow, Run DMC, stuff like that. Break beats, a lot of break beats.
Right. Growing up, you were really big into hip hop. Can you tell us where did that influence in hip hop come from? How do you discover hip hop? Who introduces you to it? Do you recall?
I remember walking down the street on Pacific, and they used to sell tapes right on the street, right on Florence and Pacific. They used to sell these tapes, like the street vendors, but the ones on the street. And I seen a tape that had like these bunny rabbits, like kind of posing like b-boy stands, and I thought it was really cool, So it just said Tommy Boy Records on it, And so I said, you know what? Let me get that. It was like $5, I think, at that time. So I still stole it though. I fucking stole the tape because they were fucking busy selling shit. So I stole the tape, I took it home, I put it on, and I was like, wow, this is it.
Do you remember whose tape that was? Who was on that?
It was a mixtape. I think it was, I know Run DMC was on it, and I know there was some Slick Rick. There was a couple of different artists from the 80s,
Growing up, did you show any artistic talent early on? Were you getting in trouble for writing before you knew about graffiti?
No, before I knew about graffiti, I was just like into comic books, I would have X-Men comic books, I would have like Robotech, I would have a lot of different comic books, and I would pretty much just kind of trace the characters and draw. I was always into like doodling really and just drawing.
When you first see that gangster graffiti on the streets, what are your thoughts about it? Do you ask your parents why are they writing on the wall? What sense do you get from what's happening on the streets?
No, I would have never asked my parents why people ran the wall, because they would just turn around and slap me or throw a chancla at me. It was more like I noticed it, and then I read it, and then I seen it again, and then I seen it again, and it just clicked in my head. I was like, that's cool as shit.
How old are you at this time? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember, man. I don't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday. I'm not gonna remember how old I was. I would say, this is like 1987. So, do the math.
There's a well-known story about you in the bathroom putting alcohol in your Prismacolors when your dad walks in. Can you please talk about that story? Because was that during your early stages in graffiti?
It was right before graffiti. I would copy the art that's on the comic books. And, Prismacolor, they were expensive back then. I grew up in the hood. I was poor, And so I wasn't going to ask my dad for money for markers, because he would be like, nah, this has to, like, why am I going to give you my hard-earned money for that? So I learned, and also, too, when you draw back then, if you add alcohol to those markers, you could do the blending technique, right? So I had like a piece book, and I was doing kind of like letters on that, and really characters, stuff like that. So I was going to ask him for money, so I was putting alcohol in it. He thought I was sniffing the stuff, and he fucked me up. Like, I remember that was like a real, he really thought I was doing drugs.
How does he catch you? Where are you?
Well, I'm just in the bathroom in the hallway, and he walks in there and he sees me doing that, and he thought I was, sniffing it or something.
What does he tell you?
He just starts fucking me up. He didn't tell me shit. That's what he thought I was doing, and he was gonna fuck me up.
Do you try to talk to him and tell him what's going on?
No, I just took the ass whooping, That's how it was back then. Like, kids didn't have no rights. They ask you like, oh, what do you want to do today? You didn't give you an iPad. They just like, you get fucked up. I mean, especially if you have a drunk dad coming at home. He just fuck you up just to fuck you up, you know what I mean?
Do you eventually tell him what you were doing, or does he forever think you were sniffing the alcohol?
Oh, no, I ain't bothered to fucking deal with that, you know what I mean? I know I slapped that fucking fool around a couple of times later on when I grew up. I didn't tell him why. But that's just the way it is sometimes, you know what I mean? It comes around. Goes around, comes around.
How was it growing up with a tough father like that?
Well, like I said, he wasn't there. He took off. So it was great because I had to deal with his junk and bullshit, you know what I mean? And I would just take off. I would travel pretty much all city, you know?
Were you happy when you finally left?
You know, my mom was really sad and she took it back, so I wasn't happy for her sake, but for me, it didn't matter, you know what I mean? At that point, I was used to, you know, governing myself, you know? At a young age, I was pretty much governing myself.
Dr. Toombs, you're also known for being a quite tall person. How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", just like my car.
Were you always the tallest kid at school?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was, you know, I think a lot of the beefs I've gotten and the trouble I've gotten is because my younger friends would always run behind me and you know, I would defend them. You know, I was kind of built like a defender, you know what I mean? Like I was always backing up my friends. A lot of beef, it wasn't really because I started it, because I went on there after it, you know what I mean? It was more of defending people around me, and you just have to roll with it sometimes, you know what I mean?
Are your parents really tall? Where does that height come from?
My father's tall. He was born in Hermosillo, Sonora.
Is it a fact that people from that area in Mexico are known to be taller?
You know, Tucson, Arizona, Texas, border areas. So yeah, you know, there's some tall, you know. We all come from colonizers, you know what I mean? Like if we speak Spanish, because, you know, our ancestors got colonized by the Spanish and shit, you know, so it's all in our blood.
Growing up, would people always try to get you to play basketball or assume you're into basketball?
Yeah, no. A lot of people wanted me to play football or stuff like that because I was a big kid, you know what I mean? But I wasn't interested in sports. I was interested in graffiti, and everything else took a second, you know.
Being tall and a graffiti writer, wasn't it tough not getting spotted?
Well, you know, you just gotta be smart about it. You gotta be slick about it. I think back in the days, and you know, being tall is good because you get the high spots. And when cars drive by, they can see the spot if it's taller, you know? So not only you have foot traffic looking at your tags, but you also have the cars driving by seeing your tags. You know, I've always seen people tag real low, and I pictured that they were either a midget or they were scared. And I'm like, why are you paying so low? I would always try to get the highest, you know, point possible so you can see it from the streets and everything else, you know.
Dr. Toombs, you mentioned as a young kid, you're seeing gang graffiti all over the streets. Is this when you take an interest in graffiti yourself, or is there another key moment that happens in your life that sparks that interest?
No, that was it. I remember watching this show called the Arsenio Hall Show, and you know, it used to air pretty late. And oh, you know what? As a matter of fact, I was watching a KRS-One video called My Philosophy, and in the video, you see a writer, and I think it's KRS writing, "Rest in peace, Scott Rock." And the flares of the can and how it looked, it just was a lot of style, and then that just pumped me up. So after watching that show, I jumped out of my room window, went to the garage and grabbed some cans. And my dad had, because he was a welder and you know, he would paint the metal. And I took a walk, you know, down the streets and started catching tags.
What do you write at that time? You don't have the name TOOMER or T-Lokes. What are you writing?
I think that was, goddamn, what was I writing back then? I think it was like T, because, you know, I have a last name with a T on it. And then, you know, I started seeing a lot of ERs back then at the end of everybody's names. Like everybody had a name, they put ER at the end of it back then, you know? So I was like, you know, I like Toombs. And Zoom was already taken at the time, so I was like, I like Toombs. TOOMER. But really, that name came from my mom. Like I was hanging out with my friends in front of my porch, and we were playing some hip hop, and she just came from work, and she's like, "Oh, you give me a headache that music gave me a headache like a tumor, like a tumor." And all my friends started laughing, like, you call you tumor, you're a tumor. So it just stuck to me, you know?
What was it about the name TOOMER that you liked?
Well, The same first because all my friends were already calling me that because my mom made fun of me in front of them, and two because of the ER at the end. Like I said, a lot of writers back then would always put ER at the end of their names or ism, stuff like that. But ER was pretty prevalent back there of people putting it at the end of their name.
Did any of your friends try to talk you out of using the name Toomer, like a bad karma or something?
No, I was always almost like the peer, you know? Nobody was going to talk me out of anything. If anything, I was going to talk them into something.
Why was your house full of all your friends? Would all of you get together, or what?
Well, here's the thing. At that time in LA, if you went to the park, they were going to whoop your ass and make you join a gang. So the safest part, for being, in junior high or whatever, would be your house. And since my mom was at work and nobody was there, we would all hang out there. And then my mom would show up and be like, no. I didn't come move over here so you guys could be hanging out here and all the neighbors going to look like, you guys look like a gang. Go to the park. Now, right? So then we would go to the park and get chased at and fucking jumped and all kinds of crazy,
You spell the name Toomer with double O's. When do you make that adjustment, and why do you make it?
Well, I did start with double O's. It was Toomer. Then I dropped the E for a little bit, so I was doing Toomer, so it's shortening it because you're painting, you gotta be quick. And then I've used the number 2MER and also the number 2MR and Tooms, TOOMS. So there's been variations. Once I got raided by the Ghost team, the Graffiti Habitual Offender Suppression Team, which is was a big thing back in the early 90s. It was like different RTD police and sheriff department, LAPD intelligence. And so when I got raided, Toomer was pretty much burned. So I would change the name because I see that in court, they have to have the correct spelling of it so they could try to charge you. As a matter of fact, a lot of writers that got caught on the bus, the MTA police or the Ghost team would have them hold a piece of paper. They were like, try to con them, like, oh, you know what, we got you, it's cool. But, I like your stuff. Can you put your name right here? And a lot of suckers would fucking tag on that and then hold it up. They would take a picture of them, and then in court, they would be like, he wrote this is his name. He even wrote his moniker. They would call it moniker when you go to court, This is his moniker. And that's how, so I would try to change it up a little bit. So if I did fight it, which was very rare, I had money for attorney, it would be a little mixed up. Like, oh, you're saying that he's this guy, but in this spelling of this spot, it's this, so it could be somebody else. You always got to give a little bit of a benefit. It has to be like 100% they got you. And if you throw that out, it's just a little bit of a, maybe him, maybe not. Just give him a deal. Get him out of here,
Understood. Thank you for sharing that. Backing up, once you get the name Toomer, does it motivate you to paint more now that you have your name?
Well, it really didn't matter what name I had, I was going to paint. I loved it once I did it, the adrenaline and everything, Growing up where I grew up, it wasn't not just about the cops whooping your ass. It was the gangs too,
What year do you get the name Toomer?
Well, like I was playing with it, throughout the late 80s and early 90s. By 90, 91, I was already hitting. By 92, I was, tagging on everything. By 93, I was already smashed all downtown, 94, I was pretty much, getting all city with it,
Do you recall when your mom found out you were writing the name Toomer because of her? And what does she say about it?
Yeah, I painted this wall down a very, busy street, and she was on the bus coming home, and, one of my siblings was with her and snitched me out. And she goes, look, he went up there and painted that. So she got home, she's like, oh, you have the energy and everything to go paint all that, but you can't mow the fucking grass? So she got mad at that.
Before you had the name Toomer, what name were you writing more?
It was Toomer. Like I said, it was T or Toomer. I wasn't really painting anything else, When you start, you play with different names, but nothing caught my eye like that. It was really when my mom made fun of me that I said, okay, this is it. All my friends would say, you know, that's you. My neighbor would always call me Toomer, and I just cut it off.
At the time, would you tell people who you are, that you're Toomer? Would you keep it a secret? What was your strategy with your name?
Yeah, no, it was just about getting up. You know, I guess I've been pretty antisocial all my life, and I feel like graffiti is an antisocial thing anyways. So I wasn't really trying to, you know, tell the whole world where I roll. Later on in life, you want to get a little bit of, you know, props from other writers, so you do tell them, you know.
Before social media, it seemed like rumors were everywhere about you. Who's Toomer? He looks like this, he looks like that. What were your thoughts about all the rumors going around about you and your crew before social media, and you having no way to discredit or correct things?
I don't really care what people think or want, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, rumors are, that's always going to be in graffiti, you know what I mean? I never really take any mind of what they say, because they don't know me. Even writers that met me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they met me 10, 20 years ago who I was back then. I'm not the same person I am now that I was, you know, 5 years ago, let alone 10, 20, 30 years ago. So if people made up their minds about me of what I said or did, and, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they're idiots, because I'm not the same human. None of us are. We all grow, we all change, you know, things happen, and if people have some sort of like opinion about me, and also too, this is a persona. This is why I did this. That's what graffiti is. Who I really am is not the person that I portray as a graffiti writer. And on top of that, I portray a whole other person, another writer. You know what I mean? So if you met me as Toomer, you didn't meet the real me. The government named me. You met the person I'm portraying as an alter ego as a graffiti writer. And that's why I chose to do this, because I could do it. You know what I mean? Not because I need to, because I'm already burned. I came out in documentaries and Fox 11 News. You know, I've been all in magazines. I've been in all kinds of stuff. I did it because I wanted to bring fun back into Graff. You know, I thought it was cool to do something different. I want the last person that did the interview to not be like me, and good luck whoever follows this. You know what I mean? Because if I could and I wanted to, I would have rented a tiger, and I would have the tiger right here. You know, just bring fun back into graffiti. You know what I mean? That's how I see it now. Now that I'm a little older and I've been painting for a lot of years, I'm having a great time. I'm not trying to impress nobody. I don't care who sees it. I don't care who likes it. I'm just having fun with it. And it's coming out of me because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And anytime I run away from this, my life is not happy. This is what makes me happy. Creating. You know, in any way I could create, I love it. And I don't have to even be up. I could help somebody else get up. I could show them how to, you know what I mean? And it's still the same thing to me. I love it.
Dr. Toombs, you put in a lot of work with Toomer, but as a writer, I want to ask you, how long do you feel it took you to get the name Toomer recognized in graffiti?
Well, you know.
Do you recall when someone first said that they saw you up?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't recall that particular time, but yeah, a lot of people gave me props back in the day for, you know, pretty much being Metropolitan King, you know, just smashing downtown. You know, all the buses in LA would go to downtown LA first. So I would go to downtown, paint all of downtown, jump on that bus and take it all the way to the west side, or all the way to the east side, or all the way to the north side, or all the way to the south side. And I would always end up in downtown, so I would smash downtown. I used to take 2 backpacks full of paint. I would give one to this homeless dude on the corner on 7th and Broadway. Go to McDonald's, get a couple of cheeseburgers, give it to him, empty out all that other backpack, and then go back for the other one, because I didn't want, if I got caught by the cops, I didn't want them to take both backpacks, you know? So I always had that planned out.
I wanna back up a little bit to your name, Toomer. Is having a great name important to be successful in Graff? Does your name have to be solid?
Yeah, you gotta love it. Just like your throwies or your letters or what you do. If you don't love it, you're not gonna do it. If you don't have a logo or something that you love, you're not gonna do it. It's just the way it is. If you have to love it, You have to have an ego about it. You know, it's just like hip hop. You know, an MC that goes in there, they think they're the best MC ever to do it. So you have to have that, confidence to get up there, climb that thing, or jump over that fence, or go to that hood where you could get killed. You know what I mean? Or the police could arrest you. You have to have confidence. You have to have, and you have to just go all the way with it. You can't half-ass it in this graph game, especially now where everything's going on and people fucking propelling off of roofs and shit. You know what I mean? There's so much shit going on, so you have to commit. Look, I'm committed. You see all this shit? I'm committed. I'm all the way with it. I'm extra with it. If you want to say that, I'm extra with it. You know what I mean? Who else came up in here and did all this extra? Like I said, good luck following this. Because the next time, and if I do, because I don't really like doing it, I'm here because I love, being creative, but also to promote the art show, If not, I'll be recluse for another 10 years, And that's dope in itself. Because nobody knows what you're doing, and nobody knows what you're up to, and they're imagining all kinds of crazy. So that's part of it too,
Dr. Toombs, definitely. Thank you. We thank you for blessing our set with your visit today. Now, can you please talk about the differences between your style of graffiti, which is more gangster looking, as opposed to the hip hop style of graffiti? Do you do that on purpose? Is your influenced by, I've seen other interviews of you where you talk about the gangster style of graffiti and how it originated from something called the Shoe Shine Boys. Can you please explain?
Well, these are just stories I've heard. I know that another writer, another artist, Chaz, has talked about it, and he explains that back in the 1940s, on Broadway downtown, there would be these shoe shine boys, and they would, shine your shoes. So they would write on the wall, like, Shoe Shine Boys, 12th Street, 13th Street, 14th Street, 15th Street, 17th Street, 18th Street, 19th Street, you know what I mean? And that was the beginning of placazos, letting people know territory. And it was really because they didn't want you to go take their money in that corner, And they used the dabbers from your shoes to write on that. And I agree with that, that would be, and I don't know if it's 40s, it might be 20s. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that. But, yeah, it makes sense that that's how it would be. And I don't really consider my style gangster graffiti. I consider it more like West Coast graffiti. New York has their bubbles. New York has their, burner style. And I respect that. But over here, we had fonts. We had Old English because the most almost important or certified thing was your diploma. And your diploma was always done in Old English. It always had like handwriting. It always had a font to it. So everybody that would put the placazos out wanted it to be the most official. It was like the most official was a diploma or a degree because it had the letters in Old English and stuff. So I think my style is not gangster, but it's more West Coast graffiti. And I do a lot of color. So it's a mixture of West Coast fonts with New York, colorful, And now I'm fucking having fun doing characters, which I wish I would have started earlier in my career, but I feel like if I didn't have confidence or I had people around me that did characters, so I wouldn't bother on that. I would focus on designing the wall and doing my name.
Now that you have your soon-to-be legendary name, TOOMER, what's on your mind? What's the mission from there? Are you trying to get the name known? Are you trying to improve your writing? Is it about the fame? Are you just addicted? What's next for TOOMER once he has the name?
Well, back then, it's about getting recognition. You know what I mean? Getting recognition for who you are, making sure you're the only TOOMER, right? That's how all writers should be. There should only be one. So you take out, you do the best you can to take out the other guys so you could be the only one. And then you come up with a style that's unique, which is hard these days. I give it. We're all biting a little bit from somebody, bits and pieces to make, graffiti. And you shouldn't learn graffiti from graffiti because then you're going to make the mistakes of whoever did that. You should learn it from fonts. You should learn all font letters and then add your flavor to those fonts, and then that turns into your style. If you're learning graffiti from graffiti, you're just making the mistakes that guy did. And you're not getting it better, you're just pretty much tracing what he did and then making an extra mistake, and now you got two mistakes. And then the other guy that copies you, he's making a third mistake. And so for generations, 70s, 80s, 90s to now. But if you get a font book, or now you go on the internet and you get all the fonts and you learn certain styles, a couple of different ones, and then add your flavor to it, and then you'll develop your own style, however you like it.
Before we get into how you created the legendary crew TKO, I want to ask you, when you have the name TOOMER, do you seek out and try to join other crews before creating TKO? Are you part of any other crews?
I wasn't really thinking about that. Graffiti was all about you getting you up. And again, I was really antisocial back then. I didn't really, talk to too many people. I think a lot of people think I'm a stuck-up dick, you know what I mean? Because I show up places and I'll talk to them. But it's not that I think I'm any better or I don't care for them. It's just I'm constantly thinking, My brain is constantly going. I'm thinking of the next project, the last project, and the future projects. So, I'm kind of like quiet when I go places. And unless I know you, and then I'm just, a chatterbox. But if I don't really know you that good, I just stay quiet and just start thinking.
In this early era of TOOMER, do you recall some of the other writers you see on the streets making noise in that time? Can you share a few names if you recall any?
Oh yeah, no, there was a lot of writers, Triax comes into mind. He had a lot of stuff in downtown. I would see tags from Pale and Wear. I would see, just a bunch of NTS, all the NTSs, paint down there and, hit all the buses, and RTD buses would be smacked.
In the documentary Infamy, the writer GK mentions how you were up all over downtown. You were up so much that it was a joke. Do you recall bombing downtown, and how would you catch so many spots back then?
Well, like I said, you gotta be committed. Go to jail or not go to jail, you just gotta do it. And I remember a time that I would stand in the middle of Broadway and just go like this all in one direction, and I'll be pointing out my name. That's when I knew I pretty much did a good job there. And LAPD, that Metro division really hated me, They had, undercovers right there walking around looking for me catching tags. But I would go in different times, sometimes daytime, early morning, late at night.
Why were you catching so many spots in downtown? Why were you hitting it so hard?
Well, downtown was the meeting point for all the RTD buses. So I would take a bus from where I lived to downtown and catch another one to another area, It was kind of like where all the buses stopped at in downtown. And then you could go to the west side, east side, north side, south side. So downtown was like the heart of the city for me, you may say. So I started there and I just walked around and I tried to blend into the homeless community that was there. At that point though, there was gangs down there, They didn't take kindly to you me walking around, but after so many years of walking down there, give them a couple of cans, they'll be cool about it. They knew I wasn't in there dissing them. They knew I wasn't, bugging them or doing anything. I was just doing me,
How long would you be down there painting downtown? For hours? Would you go every day, only on the weekends? What was the strategy?
At one point, I was going almost every day, and I would go until I ran out of paint. Back then, there wasn't Home Depots or nothing. There was like this place called Standard Brands. And they had like these dollar silver chromes, And they had Carlin. We had Carlin. So I would wreck all the Carlin and get a couple of chromes and just go all over downtown LA and just smash.
Is downtown your favorite place in Los Angeles to write?
I mean,
what's your favorite area?
It just reminds me of, being a kid going down there and, shopping with my mom on Broadway. There, all the stores that were there. They used to have these big green, containers where they sold magazines and stuff, and they had the big, tall teen angels. They were like this big. So I would, my mom didn't know what it was. She didn't know it was gang graffiti. She just saw art and teen angels, so she thought it was for kids, So I would ask her if I could buy one, and she said, yeah, And so I would open it up, and it was like all the gangs of LA, and there was low riding, there was like lowriders in it, and it was cool, That was kind of like my first graffiti magazines was Teen Angels.
Did you ever try to get published in Teen Angel or submit some work in there?
No, I looked at it like that's for neighborhoods, that's for gang graffiti, That's where people go in there and they send in their blocks and their hood and they post it up. And
as you mentioned, you're bombing downtown like crazy. You point to any spot on the corner and you're up. How would you get out of your house to go paint? Wasn't your family asking, where's Dr. Toombs?
Well, my dad was gone at that point, and my mom was working, and she was raising my little brother and those sisters. So, God bless her, she was so tired. She would just pretty much say, she would give me a benediction, like, kind of like pray over me and be like, please protect my child and tell me, to be careful. And I knew she wouldn't sleep if I didn't call her. So I would call her and be like, oh, I'm staying at a friend's house. Oh, I'll be there later. Please go to sleep. Don't stay up. And I will go out and paint. I've called her back then from San Francisco, from Oakland. She thought I was down the street at a friend's house. And I'd be hitting, all city and other states and other cities,
Do you ever sneak out of your house to go riding? Would you just give excuses as to where you were?
No, I took care of what I had to take care of at home, and then I would go out. And, my mom, it was different where she grew up in Mexico, people were out more. It was not like now where people are at home watching TV all the time or on the computer. People were out all the time. So she understood that I was a teenager and that I needed a social life, go out there. She didn't know if I was, going out there with chicks or my friends or cruising or we were watching a movie, by the time it was late, she was asleep. She had to work. She had to take care of, my other siblings. So, God bless her. It wasn't like she was a bad mom. She was a great mom, but, she just didn't know what her child was up to. How could she?
Were there ever times you'd come home and she was getting ready to leave to work?
I would hide, let her go to work, and then come in and go to sleep.
Now, as you're painting downtown, this was before Uber, this was before cell phones. How were you getting to downtown to paint?
The RTP bus back then, we would jack the transfers from the bus. They used to have transfers, RTP bus, and we just walk up and just snag it from the driver and walk out. Or I used to make fake bus cards, you know what I mean? Like I would always get, my grandma was getting one already, right? So I would ask her for the color, and with the prism markers, I would make my own stamps for the RTP buses. And, we get creative back then, we got the gold. When they changed it to gold or silver, like writing, when we got the gold and silver markers to do that, and, with the colored pencils, make it all, and then put laminated, like, we come up with all kinds of crazy.
Right. Before Photoshop, it seems like graffiti artists were on the forefront.
And where I lived, if I really wanted to get it fake, I was selling Mikas right down Pacific all the time back then, you know what I mean? Like, there was all kinds of fake stuff going on,
When you're going to downtown bombing in this early era, are you going alone? Do you have someone with you, a lookout?
A lot of the times I was alone, but I made friends with the homeless people. Like I said, I would go to McDonald's and get like a couple cheeseburgers and they'd look at the paint. So a lot of times it would whistle when the LAPD would drive by. And then I would just pretend like I'm waiting for the bus. Right? So you stand by the bus and you hit the grill closest to the bus stop and you see a cop, you just stand waiting for the bus and you just play it off, Yeah, it could backfire. Sometimes they're like, nah, I didn't see that big tumor there earlier. That's that motherfucker right there. And that's it. You're done. You're in jail now. Now you're in the glass house. Real dirty jail in downtown LA where all the scumbags get put in, But that's just the coin. That's the flip of the coin when it comes to graffiti. You have good days, you have bad days. You get shot at, you get jumped by gangs, you get arrested, or the cops, back then the cops, they'll give you a choice. They'll be like, you want to in jail or you want an ass whooping? And depending on how I felt, I'd either take the ass whooping or go to jail, But you had those choices back then, They used to even try to dump you in, other hoods, They would take the Mexican riders and dump them off in the Graff projects or the Watch projects or, any of the projects all over LA. just to get them beat up, you know? Just like in the movie Boys in the Hood, it's real. That really did happen. LAPD was doing shit like that, you know?
Dr. Toombs, now that you have your soon-to-be legendary name, Toomer, you create what will become one of the most legendary crews ever, TKO. Do you recall first having the idea of creating a crew, and what sparks that notion?
It might have even been just boxing, you know? Seeing, you know, TKO, you got TKO or whatever, but, you know, I played with different teams, you know? I'm sure there was other people playing with those letters too back then, and I just instantly loved it. TOOMER TKO just sounds so fucking clean, you know what I mean?
Do you create TKO alone?
No, there's been a lot of different members of the crew, you know. Like I always tell these new guys now, you know, there's always one guy sitting next to me talking about how he's the fucking all TKO and da-da-da, and that ends up fading away. Like I said, this Graff shit is committed. You have to be committed 100%, you know what I mean? A lot of people just won't commit all the way forever, you know? And I understand that. People have kids, people have jobs, people get married, people do. Graff is hard that way, you know? But I've met hundreds and hundreds of different people, and the last of the original TKOs, you know?
You mentioned you're a little antisocial. Why do you decide to create a crew where you have to lead an army of vandals?
Well, in the beginning, walking to school, you know, you would, gangs would watch you because you're a big guy, you know what I mean? And, you know, whoever you're walking to school with, you're getting jumped, so they're jumping you, and then you develop that, you know. I had, you know, Primal back in the day would go to school with me and or get him up with other different gangs trying to get him in or me in, and then it just grew from there differently, you know. And then there's always been different segments of my crew, you know what I mean? Different generations, different classes, right? So you have the class of the '90s and the class of the late '90s. You know, I have 5 years this, 5 years that. You know, the early 2000s, the late 2000s. You know, the 20s now. You know.
In the first class of TKO, how do you go about recruiting your members back then? Because TKO was just beginning. No one ever heard of them.
I think it really started in the same thing like going all city is I got kicked out of my high school and they sent me to a high school on the east side of town. And then I got kicked out of there. So I met people from there. And then they sent me to school downtown and I got kicked out of there. And they sent me to school on the west side. And I kicked me out of there and I went deeper in the west side. So being bused or taking RTD bus to school is what kicked that off. Meeting them, hanging out with the riders, and having them join my crew is how we got around the city so much. You know, and then later, I traveled a lot. I think a lot of the guys that stayed in LA ended up getting jumped into gangs or killed or in prison. I traveled a lot. I left California. I was lucky to be able to travel a lot. I went to Mexico a lot. You know, I got to go to, I pretty much went all over the world, you know, Europe and Latin America and all over the United States. So I was always never in a corner just hanging out. I think in Los Angeles, if you hang out in a corner long enough, someone's going to shoot at you. Or you're going to go to jail for something, you know?
When you create TKO, what school are you attending? And can you give us a list of the schools you've attended?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
And I'll leave a roll call, you know, I'll paper trail, but it was north, south, east, and west, and downtown.
How would you describe TKO's early beginnings? Were they just a tagging crew? Did you have aspirations of becoming a piecing crew? Was it just like a...
Just bombers, man. Like I used to see, you know, I used to get off the bus and see other crews, older crews, like, you know, guys from M7, just different crews right back then, you know, the AWRs at that point were like, kind of like, you know, NASA crew or AM7s, you know, the UTIs, you know, the crews like that. And I used to see them paint, but I never walked up to them and be like, oh, let me hit the wall. I just, you know, I preferred either hitting the buses or tagging. You know, I can't stand when people don't really piece and they want to jump into a wall just because they do graffiti like it's some fucking fun shit, you know what I mean? Instead of going all business, you know. If I got into piecing, it was only because I was on probation and I couldn't bomb a lot. So then I was thinking, well, if I can't bomb a lot, I can go out to all these different walls in the hood and get permission to do my name on it. It was always still my name. I never went to a legal wall and be like, oh, let me do a portrait of Hello Kitty or some fucking shit. You know what I mean? It was always like, I'm gonna do my name. But I noticed that the walls that would stay up longer and I would get more permission if there was characters involved. So then I started meeting guys that did characters and dealing with their artistic garbage for fucking so many goddamn years until now I don't need nobody. Now I just do it all on my own. Yeah, I got people I paint with, but they'll tell you, they go to a wall with me or a train with me, they could sit there for hours and not do a goddamn thing, except for pass me a can, you know, and I really don't like to paint with anybody that's outside of my crew, and if I do paint with somebody that's not in my crew, it's somebody I've known for a long time, you know what I mean? To me, it's not a social thing, it's a for now especially, it's more of a fun thing, you know, I want to just do creative stuff, and reason why I like change right now, at this part of my career, you know, tomorrow we just going back to throw-ups. The next we'll go into doing, you know, major production. It doesn't matter. But right now it's because you can do whatever you want, right? Like if I have permission, if I have a permission wall, I gotta do what the owner of that wall will agree with. You paint a chain, you have all creative license to do whatever you want, with nobody to tell you, oh, dude, that's not cool, they're gonna bust it. No, it's not a fucking chain, it's gone.
In the early beginnings of TKO, what was it like trying to establish your crew? How did you go about earning respect and making a name for the crew? Were people crossing you out early on?
You know, LA has always been weird like that, dude. There's always been, you know, like haters or jealousy or just fucking idiots, you know, trying to make a name for themselves. So there's always going to be that, and there's always been that. But in the beginning, like I said, it was me going with people I went to school with, and they saw me pointing it up a lot. They saw I was committed, so they're like, yo, this guy, let's just go with this guy. You know, he's fucking going hard. Let's go hard. And that's what you gotta do. Like, my best advice to anybody that is a leader of a crew, you go hard. You go out there and you fucking smash. And then the people with you will smash with you. Don't be that guy that sends other fucking kids to do shit that you don't got the balls to do. If you're a leader of any crew and you ain't out there hitting with your boys, then what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like give it up. You know what I mean? Like, you need to go out there with them too. And yeah, you can take breaks, you can retire for a while, whatever have you. You know, people have kids, like I said, jobs or whatever, but I was never gonna let somebody do something I wasn't gonna be able to do, you know?
What were the requirements for someone joining TKO back then? Did they have to show you heart? Did they have to show you talent writing? How would you go about recruiting these new members?
Heart is number one. You know, you can learn artistic style and art, but if you're a punk, you can't get taught that. You're gonna run when somebody needs you, and you're not gonna really put in work for their name. You know what I mean? And that's what graffiti is really. It's just one person getting up and getting that name up and making sure you're the only one with that name. And it's just marketing and promotions, really. This is all one marketing thing after another, you know? This leads up to the art show. The art show leads up to something like a brand or a toy or something else being sold. And all that generates money for you to paint more graffiti in other countries, you know? That's all, you just gotta put it all together in one thing. I would have never did it, like I said, I would have never did all of it if it didn't all match. This chair is in some of the paintings that's gonna be there. This costume is part of that, you know? So it's all a mixture. You gotta blend all these social media things together, you know?
Coming up in graffiti with your name and your crew, was it more important for you to get the crew up or your name?
Look, it's all about you. Graffiti is all about you. Now, that's what's gonna pump up your boys to get up too. and then together as a crew, you'll get that fame. I'd rather have a crew of all superstars than a crew with one superstar and a bunch of dudes just fucking drinking beer, hanging out. You know what I mean? Like, you make all of them superstars, but they're all individual record deals like the Wu-Tang, you know what I mean? Like, all of them are, you know, stars in their own right, or will be future stars, you know? That's what makes a crew.
In this early iteration of TKO, are you guys just tagging your names? Are you busting throw-ups, outlines, expanding the piecing? What's this early TKO group look like?
Early TKO is bus tagging. A lot of RT buses, you know, scribing, catching the outsides, you know, fucking destination, grills, jumping in the back of the grill of buses and riding to the next stop, catching a tag on that. Insides, you know, all that. That was all RTD back then. So that's what it really was, just tagging everyone, just going out, catching tags and everything.
What do you feel was the secret to rising to the top of graffiti crews in Los Angeles? How did you manage to elevate TKO to the highest position possible?
Persistence. Whatever you do, you continue doing it, you get good at it, and then people recognize you for it. Whatever it is, whether it's sports, graffiti, low riding, fucking breakdancing, tattooing, like anything you do, you just commit to it. You know, stop putting your foot into the, you know, shallow water and just dive in head first, you know? Because that's what life is about. You can't have that shit. You gotta go full on, full force, you know? And see what happens. And if you fall, you get back up. This is how I would consider even giving respect to another writer after he gets caught. See, before you get caught and go to jail and all that shit and deal with all the crazy shit you have to deal with in the county jails here or prison, you think you're the shit. You think you're bad. You're catching tags and everything. But once you get locked up, then talk to me. Once they raid your fucking house, when they kick your door down in the morning and they take all your family on the street, you know, half naked or whatever, you know what I mean, your boxers, and you gotta go to jail, you might even get sent to prison. And then you keep riding after that. You know what I mean? Get into some beefs where people are shooting at you and see if you're still paying after that. And then I'll give you my respect. But if you ain't never been caught, you ain't never got into any hot shit, then I don't want to hear about it, you know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I give more credit for talented kids that live in hoods, no matter what. I'm just not saying in LA, I'm saying around the world, Brazil, wherever. Because they have to deal with poverty, they have to deal with gangs, they got to deal with the police, policing them 24 hours a day. The police don't police other neighborhoods like richer areas, they police the hood. So if they can get through all of that and still be talented to paint a dope piece or dope production or dope character, they get all my respect and credit because they had to go through a lot of shit. Imagine a kid that was raised by both parents with a lot of money and they just threw money at him and they went to art class and they did all that. Yeah, he's going to be good, but you have to deal with all the crazy, not knowing if he's going to have lunch, you know, a broken family. They have to deal with gangs. They have to deal with any of that shit. And they're good? Yeah, of course they're fucking good. You know what I mean? Anybody's going to be good if you have your family's blessing and money and support and all that. But get that kid that don't got shit and he becomes somebody, fuck, that dude's a superstar. That dude's going to go far. And that it's not just about graffiti. Music, sports, you know what I mean? Anybody that grew up in any hard situation, whether it's the barrio, the hood, or the ghetto, in any part of the planet, and still goes out there and does a great job, you gotta give it to him, man. You gotta just say, fuck, dude. And there's so many talented, guys and girls. You know, TKO has had a long history of female writers, and I've always pushed that. You know, I'm happy that I've had from day one, from back in the early 90s, we had a bunch of females. And it wasn't like that's the girlfriend of a writer or a crew. No, I pushed them to just get up. And I treated them just like I treated any other guys. I didn't do anything special for that, you know.
Thank you for your words of wisdom, Dr. Toombs. And coming from you, it's coming from you who have a lengthy experience. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, should writers start their own crews or join established crews? What's your outlook on that? Are they just wasting time trying to get a crew up? Should they just join an established crew and focus on their name?
You know, that's an individual taste, though. You know what I mean? And then also you have to look at it like, what are they going for? Are they even playing the real game, right? Because there's a worldwide game that people here don't even know exists, you know? And then there's a local game, you know, that they play here in Los Angeles. And so it depends. If they want to help out a crew that's already established and they're a band of brothers that have been here a long time, they can teach them something, then yeah, that's good. Because they could teach you what they know. But it also comes with you have to get whoever they have beef with, whatever problems they had, the animosities that they've built out for, you know, several years of being on the streets and making mistakes and making enemies and, you know, all that comes with everything. But, you know, let's say they start a brand new crew tomorrow. It's like a pea in the ocean. You know what I mean? You're not really going to do much unless you stand out crazy. And that only come out after several years anyway, you know? So it really just depends on what game and what level you're in. There's people, when I retired, thought like I just, you know, dropped off the face of the earth because they've never left their 5-block radius of Los Angeles. They don't know what I've done in, you know, Mexico or Latin America. You know, they don't know I went to Medellin, Colombia. They don't know I went to all over Mexico or all over Europe. They don't know shit. They only see what they see, what I allow them to see too, what I've released. You know, they don't know anything about me. Like I said, if you met me 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you don't know me now. I'm not the same person.
What do you feel has been the toughest part of running a successful crew like TKO?
Other people bringing in their 2 cents. I feel since I was a kid, I've tried to create something and other people have to go and fuck it up. Other people always have to fucking come in and steal my ideas, try to steal my members, try to fucking tell them all kind of shit because I'm a pretty tough person, period, you know? Not that I'm mean or anything, but, you know, I'm all business and, you know, I'm not about partying, I'm not about fucking, you know, laughing it up or any of that shit. When it comes to this shit, I'm serious about it, you know what I mean? I think I'm gonna die doing it. So I'm gonna be serious about it. Because this is it for me. This is what I do. Come hell or high water, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been doing. My entire adult life and young life has been doing this. So there's no turning back. I can't go back. And I'm not going to go do anything else tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'm not good at golfing or nothing. So.
Dr. Toombs, you mentioned the TKO made its early bones killing buses, which was a huge era in graffiti as well. Can you talk about the bus era in graffiti and how do you attack it? What was your approach to attacking buses?
I was going to school and I had to take the bus. I didn't have a car, you know, I didn't have parents that would give us a ride to school. Shit, back then, if you had your parents to ride to school, they look at you like you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like, ride to school, you would walk your ass over there and take the bus. So on the way to school, I would catch tags. On the way home from school, I'd catch tags. And on the weekends, I would take that to other friends or go to the beach or anywhere else, and I would catch tags.
Were you catching tags with a marker, scribes? What was your favorite place to catch in the bus?
Inside, I would chat with the bus driver and sit right behind them. Right behind him, there was like a little wall blocking, you know, at the back of him from the people. And that, as I chat with them, I would tag on it. And I think I could hold my conversation about anything, about politics, about history, about everything. So I think I entertained the bus driver for hours on there, and he didn't care I was fucking tagging on there because, you know, a lot of them are, especially late night, you know, they're bored. They're driving around, and I would ask them questions like how it is to be a driver, and you know, like I said, I would hold a conversation with them. after a while, they didn't care if I was tagged because it's not their job. Their job is to drive the bus. It's not to arrest anybody or do that. Some would call the RT police, but the majority, I always had the gift of gab. I could talk anybody into something if I talked long enough.
Do you recall some of the bus lines you would catch? Which were your favorites?
Well, my every one, the 211, the 252, 251, 60. 60 would go from Long Beach to downtown.
Why does every bus mobber remember their favorite lines?
Well, I mean, if you ride them every day your whole young life, you're gonna remember the lines. It's just like the New York riders, They know what lines they kill because those are the lines in their hood. My boy Cole in the Bronx, he knows what, with the twos and fours, how they would say it. So we all know because we rode it so long.
We hear back in the bus mobbing days, riders would take trophies from the drivers. Were you ever involved in taking personal items like sweaters, hats?
Really, to be honest with you, I mean, I was a big kid anyways, you know what I mean? It wasn't gonna fit me. I'll pause for these jackasses to laugh at that, because I know a bunch of them are right now. But it's the truth. I wasn't gonna jack a sweater that's not gonna fit me. You know what I mean? And the hats are like irrelevant for me, So, and then like I said, I think I made good relationships with the drivers if I could, so they didn't care that I was back in the street. You could hear me walking in there, you could hear the tags, you know what I mean? And Marcus smell. So his nose works, he could smell, he could smell the marsh ink coming out the markers because the marsh was really powerful ink back then. It stinks up the whole bus. So I try to make good relationships. I'm not going to jack him and then see him the next day. He's not going to stop for me. You know what I mean? I'm going to be waiting for the bus and be, that's that asshole that took my sweater or hat or my radio or whatever. And he'll just keep driving, That's how they used to do back then.
As you're mobbing buses everywhere, do you ever hear of something called the writer's bench? Do you ever visit the writer's bench?
There were several writers' benches around Los Angeles, and the writers' benches are just writers who would hang out.
How do you hear about these writers' benches?
A bunch of different writers in the bus, and they would be like, "Oh, we're gonna go kick it over here, we're gonna go get over there," and I wouldn't really go, to be honest with you. I used to go to the Mert Park. They had Project Blode right there, so I would go to the Blode because I used to go to one of the high schools close to there, so I would go to the Mert Park, and there's a lot of taggers back there hanging out, the MBTs, the Troubles and all that. They would hang out over there, and they knew me because I would tag the Vermont line. I'll be up all over Vermont. I had all Vermont from Hollywood all the way to San Pedro, And so a lot of the writers there would know me and see me on the bus line all the time, so they'd be like, "Hey, let's go to the Mert, let's go hang out." So we go hang out on the Mert, kick it, there's always chicks there, whatever, and then they had the Project Blode right there by the Mert Park where all these different rappers would be there hitting me. That's when I met the Alcoholics and Team T, AC Alone, and the Razzcats. I met all these dudes that later on, when I started working for these record labels, it helped me out because they'll be like, "Oh, I know who you are, man. You used to get up."
Why would you avoid the writer's bench?
I'm antisocial. When I was younger, I was really antisocial. What am I going to talk to them about?
As you mentioned earlier, the ghost team would patrol the city buses in that area. Can you tell us more about the ghost team? What did the acronym GHOST stand for? And did you ever have any run-ins with the ghost team?
Oh my goodness. Everything they stole from me. Ghost is Graffiti Habitual Offender Suppression Team. And if you fucking destroy, you'll be on the top of the list, on top of the Caltrans most wanted list too. Caltrans has their list, freeways and other shit like that. Don't put the Highway Patrol on your ass.
Were you on the ghost team list, and how do you find out you're on their list?
They catch your ass and get all happy. They think they caught Bin Laden or some shit, you know what I mean? I think they want to take pictures right next to you and shit like you're a trophy fish. Because then you gotta think about it. These guys are getting paid to catch riders. So all they're doing is at their office and watching as your total is going up and up and up and up and up, all the damages doing all the buses. And so they have like a pool going, These dudes are banging to see who catches you and, what you look like. And they start imagining, they start writing down what lines you hit the most, and then they start stalking on those lines. That's why it's always good to move around. You can't stay paying the same shit over and over because it's like, come on. Somebody passes you out, you go back across somebody, you go back across somebody. Well, not only you're attracting the guy that's waiting for you there to go pass them out, but the cops are standing out across the street too. Like, look at these idiots. And since you're going back there to fix it, you probably have weapons on you because you think the other guy's this you. Well, then the cops run in then, and they're like, oh, but now we got you more, You gotta change your MO. You have to be consistent, yeah, but you have to change how you operate. You gotta stop for a minute, look back, and figure out a way of, and that might be leaving the city. That might be leaving the country for a while, doing stuff in other countries, and coming back here, after you perfected a style or what you want to do.
Do you recall some of the well-known bus mobbers back then? Can you name a few names that stick out in your mind? Or maybe some crewmates of yours that were making noise on the buses?
There was a lot of dudes back then. I remember seeing Gen T, had a lot of skies back then. Sleaze, LOD, Whisk, all our TDKs. I had dudes from TKO that used to, paint the bus back then. All that.
Do you ever join RTDK? And if so, and why not? Was it not a goal of yours? Did you not?
No, see, I wasn't just focused on buses. And even now, if you see a bunch of trains on me, it's not like I'm a train bomber. I'm not a train bomber. I'm a bomber, period. I'll paint. If there's a dead moose on the side of the road, and I know hundreds of people are going to see that dead moose, I'll catch a tag on that thing. Because to me, it's about marketing and promotions. Marketing however possible. If it's about, if I gotta learn cyber bombing to go into the meta universe in the future and bomb inside the metaverse, so when people go buy all the goods and services in the future, which is gonna happen, you're gonna be able to go into the meta universe and pick out your clothes, pick out your car, pick out whatever, buy it, and then it'll get mailed to your house. So malls and all that thing, that's going to be done in the future. You're not going to be really leaving your house a lot. So the next domain is bombing the metaverse, buying property in the metaverse, putting a billboard there, and then putting your name on there so everybody else walking around can see you up, and that's marketing too. So to me, it wasn't just about tagging buses or painting trains or bombing freeways or doing burners or doing production. It's about all of it. You want to be all well-rounded. I painted a lot of females too. And I was doing that before there was a ship.com or any of the other people that are doing, we might have down there painting almost 100 girls.
Right. I'd like to get that down the line on our interview. But first, I want to ask you, the bus era eventually dies out. What do you feel was the cause of that?
Ghosting. They're really good at catching us. They got cameras on the buses, and like I said, they would stalk the line that was getting hit the most. And humans are habitual, and graffiti writers are habitual. They're going to do the same shit over and over and over again, and they're not going to change their MO. The cops know that. So they're going to be waiting. And, the fines are going big. They weren't just giving us tickets no more. Before they would catch and release you. Give a ticket, have you pose your name on a little thing. You go to court, and then it was up to the court if you're going to go to juvenile hall or whatever. There was a point in LA that they're handing down felonies, man. You're going to go to prison for Graff. Especially if you're on the top list. They were going to throw the book at you, you know what I mean? I remember one time, Chief Bratton from New York, that did the whole broken windows thing there, he came down here, and he had the team raid me. It's on the Los Angeles Times, you can look that up, where it says, tough fight for Chief Bratton, says TOOMER. And I did an interview at the time When I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter what laws you put, people are still going to paint graffiti. And I get locked up or dead or whatever, nobody cares. People are still going to paint graffiti. As a matter of fact, humanity could be elevated to a point where we could travel to other planets. And there's always going to be some guy that's going to fucking tag somewhere. Because somebody's going to pass by it and see a tag on the moon and say, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen, and he's going to catch another tag. Because no matter how we advance as a society, we have the asshole gene. You know? There's always one human that's going to be like, fuck this, I'm painting on that. It would be the coolest shit if I put my name. Because as humans, we leave our mark. You know? We're always going to leave our mark. We did it when we're cavemen, we're doing it now. And later on, we're AIs. You know, where our bodies are in the internet, we're going to leave some sort of mark.
The Ghost Team, a controversial task force in Los Angeles. Why do you feel the Ghost Team isn't around anymore?
Funding. Funding. That's it. If you don't vote and you get some jackass that's hard ass on fucking the law, he's going to fund it. And we're all going to eat shit. And with the Olympics coming, I'm sure they'll get some funding for that. And then, you know, they'll start raiding and doing all kinds of shit. So be on your toes.
Dr. Toombs, as the bus mobbing era fades away, a new era begins. It's the tag banging era. Do you recall this time in graffiti? And what were you up to during this time? How do you manage to stay away from danger during this dangerous time in Los Angeles?
You know, I've been wanting to say this for a long time. Just the word tag banging is offensive. And that was brought to us by Fox 11 News. They coined that phrase. And if you're a writer in New York and somebody went over your shit and you broke a bottle over his head, they didn't call you a tag banger. They called you somebody that was serious about what you're doing. Only in LA do we have to call everything banging because of so many, you know, gangs are so much part of our society here. But if you are a graffiti writer in LA and you got arrested 30 times and you're a felon and you go and you paint something nice and some toy ass lame that's trying to get attention goes over it and you have to go fix it and risk getting killed by a gang there and risk going to prison and risk going to jail and wasting your good money on that paint or gas to go get it. You're going to fix it and you're going to come with an ass whooping. You're going to find the idiot that didn't even whoop his ass. And then people are going to call you a tag banger for that shit. So that's stupid. Now, there was graffiti crews that set up shop in an area, and what I mean is that they made it their hood and all that, and they called themselves tag bangers, but they were copying what they saw on Fox 11, because Fox 11 was making it popular to villainize graffiti, and the only way to villainize graffiti was it's a gang thing, if you're gonna get shot, so tell your kids to stop doing it. And so they went with it because they saw the attention. There were attention seekers. We didn't have internet, so Fox 11 News was the internet. Fox 11 News was like the takeovers and all how it is now, you know what I mean? So they wanted attention, they came up with it. And I think more writers from the old school need to talk about that. And be like, hey, they didn't call anybody tag bangers in Europe that broke somebody's jaw for going over shit. They didn't call anybody in the East Coast tag bangers that fucking broke a wine bottle in their head. Or they didn't call Cap a tag banger, bro. And he went over a bunch of shit. They just said this man was, you know, capping over everybody's shit, you know. The word capping somebody came from that guy going over people's shit. That's how we say the word cap. And I got capped because of Cap 1. But nobody called him ever until this day a tag banger. It was just, he did it. And that was it. He didn't care. I think the word taggers is offensive. I think that, you know, we're writers. We're graffiti writers. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like the word tagger. I don't like the word tag banger. I don't use it at all.
During that tag banging era, my apologies for using that phrase, but during that era, we hear that many graffiti crews were forced to merge into gangs. How do you manage your crew to stay out of those politics?
Well, because we didn't set up shop, right? We didn't set up shop somewhere, so the local gang in that area couldn't find us hanging out on one street and, jump us all in and force us to join the gangs. We didn't. We moved around. We pushed it. We kept on moving, kept on moving, kept on moving. So there was no way for them to get a hold of. And the ones that did do that paid for it. You know what I mean? They had to join gangs, and they were their torpedoes. They're the youngsters of those days were the ones that put in the most work, and now they've been locked up for now 30 years, right? I see a lot of dudes come out of prison because I've tattooed a lot of people, and they tell me like, "Damn, man, I missed all my life. All the fun stuff I see you did, and the adventures you did, and I got locked up because I did a drive-by at 17, 18, 15 sometimes. Like California was throwing away children quick. California was one of the first and only states that was putting children in jail for life. You're not, if you don't even have the ability to handle alcohol, you have to be 21. It's because you haven't grown as an adult yet. So the decisions you make at 13, 14, 15, 16, you shouldn't be tried as an adult. You know what I mean? You're not really all there. And then you add the era of your homies and everybody in the neighborhood thinking that whole machismo shit, and it just turns crazy. And then people watch this interview like, oh, but you did a lot of crazy shit too. Like, yeah, I'm not saying I'm the smartest person on the planet. I deal with a lot of crazy shit too, but again, if you met me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm not the same person I was. And neither are you, I don't think, Only the most stubborn, ignorant, the most ignorant and most stubborn people are still the same for 30, 40, 30, 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, we all evolve. Humans evolve.
In your opinion, why does this era in graffiti fade away? Or is graffiti just as dangerous today?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't an era. It's just people doing things. Danger in Los Angeles is always going to be here. People say a lot of shit that come out of town because they never go east of the 405. So they don't really know LA. They've never been to South Central, they've never been to Watts, Compton, they've never been to Long Beach, they've never been to East LA, Boyle Heights. They don't know nothing about, the low bottoms or, downtown LA, or any Linwood, Hampton Park, they don't know nothing about Maywood, they don't know nothing about any of those places. Pacoima, even San Fernando, that's hood too, you know what I mean? They don't know anything about those things, So they say that ain't dangerous, but you can get got anywhere. It just depends. If fate has it, you can get killed in Beverly Hills. It doesn't matter. It depends on the person that's there and what happens, and how you deal with the situation. I forgot how many times I've had guns pointed at me or I've been shot at. That's how much has happened. I forgot. I'll bump into somebody I haven't seen in a long time. They'll be like, hey, remember that time we were just like hanging out at Tommy's? And a car pulled up and started blasting and shit. And I was like, oh yeah, it did happen. I forgot about it. Because that's LA. And if you live long enough in LA, two things will happen. You'll live long enough to change your life, or you'll live long enough to become a villain.
Dr. Toombs, you've had a long history. You've traveled around the world for graffiti. Is violence in graffiti the same in other countries, or do you just see this in Los Angeles?
I mean, people beat each other up over basketball, bro. Humans are violent. I mean, it's not, you can't say graffiti makes you violent, or it's just the way it is. But, there's other countries that dealt with violence differently than America. I think America is a very violent place. Our history is violence. We came here and we murdered all the indigenous people. We took their lands and we brought an entire race of humans from another country and turned them into slaves. It's a very violent place, America. When you go to other countries, they'll be the first one to let you know how violent. But also Europe is violent. I mean, look at all the wars, that Europe is. But I think it's because they had war on their soil that they learned how to deal with it a little better than we have here. But again, you could get beat up playing golf and you disrespect somebody. I mean, you could get beat up playing video games. We, again, villainize graffiti because of the culture of Los Angeles gangs. And so we use terms like tag banging, and we're like, oh, is it violent over there? Over here, dude, it's violent anywhere, bro. You get beat up from playing chess. If you're pissed off at your opponent, it's just humans, dude. It's just what humans do. It doesn't, I, for one, I don't go out and decide, oh, what would be cool right now. You know what I mean? I deal with what happened already or what I perceive as a threat, and I deal with it accordingly. And that's it,
Dr. Toombs, as we come out of this dark era in graffiti, TKO reaches...
It's saying a dark era. But like I said, I don't view it that way.
I see.
See it like
An era. It is what it is, and whoever survived it, they're better for it. It teaches you how to be who you are. You cannot grow as a human being without pain. You can't grow as a human being without strife. If everything's easy, why would you want to accomplish anything? You wouldn't. You just stay at home, watching TV and eating bonbons all day.
As we transition from this past era, TKO reaches new heights. TKO is everywhere. How do you manage to spread TKO across Los Angeles?
Well, members, like I said, when high school, when I got kicked out of different high schools, I met different writers. We kept in touch, and, they let in their homeboys. And then it spread out to, Las Vegas, we had homies in San Diego, it spread out to Mexico, it spread out to the Bay Area, and then from there it went to the Midwest and the South, and then, eventually hit to the East Coast and everywhere else.
In your opinion, Dr. Toombs, does the crew make the legend, or does the legend make the crew?
The legend makes the crew. Definitely. Without the one writer, going out there and smacking it down for himself, nobody would even know about the crew.
In this new era of TKO, it feels like you begin recruiting writers who become legends in their own right. What are you looking for in writers now that you're recruiting TKO as an established crew, as opposed to new recruits when it was barely starting?
We had set members in the crew that had rank, right? Like, let's say Kenner. Kenner was social. That guy would fucking party with everybody, and he met a lot of people, so he brought in, white boys from the Midwest, white boys from, the Bay Area, and they would bring them to where I'm at with just the homies that I grew up from the hood, and they'd be like, yo, these dudes are down with it, these fools get paid, and I'd give them a chance. We'd be like, all right, fuck it, show it, do it. So I was just focused on me the whole time. I would help them, but I was just focused on getting out.
At some point, it feels like TKO has assembled the Avengers of graffiti. Every known writer is representing TKO at one time. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
How did you manage to organize so many legendary writers under one umbrella with all those big egos?
It was hard. And it's still hard to this day. Ego will fuck everything up, Like people have, even myself, egos will fuck everything up. That's how it is. So you gotta just, at my point now, now that I'm older, I just let the youngsters do them. I help what I can, and that's it. If they do something stupid that'll cause them harm or anybody harm that I care about, then I intervene. But usually I just let them take care of them, I am the founder, but I'm not the leader anymore. They govern themselves, and I like it. Like I said, I'm having fun with Graff now. I'm not impressing nobody. I don't care who sees it. I'm just having fun with it. It's more fun. I want to bring fun back into the Graff, you know what I mean? Because seriousness, when it comes to this, ends up in violence a lot. So if you have fun with it and you just don't take it too serious, remember, it's just a persona that you made up. It's not real. You kill somebody all over it. It's stupid. I regret a lot of things in the past. I wish if I had a time machine, I would change a lot of things. But I can't. I gotta move forward and just do me until it's my time to go.
Dr. Toombs, was it a plan of yours to gather all the well-known writers in Los Angeles and bring them into TKO, or did it just happen?
Well, I just did me, and they would come around, and they saw that I was being successful in what I was doing, and I was bombing. I always glorified the bomber, not the piecer, not the character guy, or not the, oh, look, I got money, or it was about bombing, what you could do. And they saw that I was successful, and they ran with it. They came with me. A lot of times there was other guys from TKO that put them in, and then I would meet them and just be cool and just push it together, And we grew that way.
Was there a time or a moment when you knew TKO was on top of Los Angeles? Does someone make a comment to you, or do you recall when you said, you know what, TKO is the top right now?
I haven't been scared of graffiti most of my career, but there was one time I drove around and seen how much damage we did. Like all the freeways and everything, They have rollers everywhere, like just huge, massive rollers. And I said to myself, like, there's no way I'm not gonna pay for this somehow. Everybody is paying attention. And not everybody's paying attention, it's just graffiti writers. You got gangs and you got cops. Any graffiti writer in Los Angeles have to walk a very thin razor blade line between gangs and the police. And any little slip up will get you fucked up. And so when I saw how much damage, I was like, oh, fuck. After a while, after getting raided, feds getting involved in all that shit, I was like, shit, I'm not gonna have time to live a regular life. Maybe I should fucking try that out for a little bit. And I did, I tried to do that for a little bit, and it was good. It was good not being known for that. And just kind of like focusing on having friends that weren't graffiti writers for the first time in my life, you know what I mean? Like hanging out with people that weren't talking about graffiti and never mentioning graffiti or anything. And it's crazy because a lot of the new friends that I made now didn't even know I wrote. They know me for other stuff. So when they found that out, they're like, holy shit, that's you? I remember seeing that when I was in school. So, it was cool for me. I got to have my real me have a life and push my, ego and persona to the side so I could have a real life for a while. And it was good, I got married and all kinds of shit. I had vacations that had nothing to do with graffiti. Before then, all my vacations were spray patients, After that, I got to go to Disneyland. I got to do all kinds of regular shit, the regular shit that people do that are not just completely engulfed in one, thing they love.
Dr. Toombs, now I want to mention a couple of TKO members that are legendary figures. I can't go through them all because there's just too many legends in your crew. I'd love to ask you about one legendary female figure, Tribe, TKO. How do you first meet Tribe, TKO? Do you recall?
Yeah, it's funny because we always talked about this. So I'm on the Vermont line and I just finished tagging up the whole bus. And somewhere around like Olympic in Vermont, she gets on there with Cuddles, another female rider. And they sit there and they look at where I tagged, and Tribe goes, oh shit, there goes that TOOMER guy again. I haven't seen him a lot. And I smiled and she stared at me and she was like, oh fuck, that's you, huh? And back then it was kind of like if you give props to another writer, it's kind of like you've been shamed now. Now you're like, I'm a nuts or some bullshit. I didn't see it that way, but she felt like, ah, fuck. I just kind of like hit this dude prior, I didn't even know this dude. And she felt like embarrassed, and I was gracious, whatever, whatever, It could have been you too. She told me what she wrote, I was like, oh, I've seen you too. And then they're like, well, we're gonna go hang out right here, you wanna come out? So I jumped out the bus with them. I think they were going to a writer's bench actually. And she showed me like Korean food. Like, cause where I'm from, I didn't have that shit. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. And, that's the food, whatever, that was it. Like, she went off, did her thing, and I jumped on the next bus back to do what I was doing. And then later on, we met different ways. And then I'm not sure how she joined the crew, but I'm sure it was because we were hanging out all the time. And, I think one day she saw how much we were like brothers, and the whole crew was like family. And she really wanted that. I think being a female graffiti writer is hard because you don't know who's your friend because they want to ban you, or, it's hard to trust guys, right? So I never gave her a reason to not trust me, And she would hang out with us and we would take care of her like, she was a little thing when I met her,
She mentioned that she had seen you. Had you seen her writing up? You know it was a female before running into her.
I did not know that.
Were you surprised?
That was her, yeah. Because she's, like I said, she was a little thing. She was a little thing, And so I just kind of smiled. And my cousins that day too. And we were cool for many, many years after that.
Tribe was little, as you said. What about her made you know that she'd be a killer? Because eventually she turns into a legend.
Dude, she would jump out of the freeway in high heels after going to a club and just start bombing the freeway, dude. Like because she lived in Hollywood, so she lived that life, party life early, She used to go to school with Brandy, that chick Brandy. So, they were going into clubs like at 17, 16, with big IDs and shit. So she was always hard in Hollywood. Later on, she became a great DJ and shit. So, a lot of DJs now that are female DJs, they got that from her, just like the female, I think that if you ask a lot of OG writers in LA back in the days, they're going to have to mention Tribe. They're going to have to give her her flowers. And I'm glad you actually asked that question because she was one of the greatest legendary females of Los Angeles. And I think a lot of people hated on her because she was a female and she was, girly and, pretty or whatever. And then people fucking hated on that.
Dr. Toombs, does she ever share with you where she got the name Tribe? Why does she choose that name?
She told me, I forgot. We had many conversations about shit, but I'm sure I forgot. Like I said, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
How should Los Angeles graffiti history remember Tribe TKO?
As a real fucking bomber, like hardcore, badass fucking writer that would just jump on buses, jump on freeways, through throw-ups, just fucking scribe on shit, tearing on shit. I mean, I see this stuff, It's not like, and anybody, like I said, any OG real writer will tell you that shit. Like, she fucking really smashed LA. And, on top of that, then she practiced how to DJ and she became like one of the top DJs in the club scene here in Los Angeles, which is really hard, And, she made good money doing that. And, she was always, balling and, she had fucking nice cars and, she represented herself, good.
It feels after some time, though, Tribe disappears and hasn't been heard from in years. Dr. Toombs, do you know what happened to Tribe? Can you fill us in?
Life happened to Tribe, just like life happened to any writer that lives a fast life, or any person, any rock star, anybody, You have to understand, we've been famous early. Like, she was famous early in graffiti, before there was the internet, before there was that. So living that life takes a toll on you, man. Half of us go crazy because of that fame and really believe that bullshit, and then you start acting like that, And the other half crave it. They have to have more and more and more and more. It's like a drug. Fame is like a drug. But also, it destroys you mentally and physically. You can't trust anybody. And, people looking at you, you don't know if they're looking at you because you're famous and they want to see what's up, or they just jealous, they want to fucking hurt you, or, it's like that saying, like, I kill you, I'm brainless. You kill me, you're famous. What am I to do? And that's how it is with anybody in the limelight of their respective thing. Graffiti, if you're famous in that, you already know who to trust. Who likes you because you're famous or because you're you? And who doesn't like you because you're famous and you're jealous? It's hard. So I hope that she got to live a life without it, like I did. And I hope she left it to live a life and enjoyed it, like I did.
Thank you, Dr. Toombs, for sharing that update with us about Tribe. Now, another legendary TKO figure is Zerk TKO, one of the most talented artists. Can you please tell us how you first meet him?
He came with other members of TKO to hang out, and I seen early that he was talented, he was dope. And if anybody I could call like a partner, I would call him one. I remember getting awareness of what we could do. One day we were hanging out painting, and we did this production like with our names on it, background characters. And then right away I thought the same thing he thought. And it was, why the hell do we invite anybody else? For what? So they could just, put their names all around our names and just take up all the space. Because before, like, you would see like 30 people in the same wall and everybody go on top of each other. Everybody needed had walls, so everybody want to show up. Nobody got their own walls. Everybody wants to be on top of it. But me and him figured out that we don't need anybody else. We could do it. And we stayed like that for a while. We painted a lot of things. And I talk to him to this day, Me and him will be doing stuff really soon. You'll see it.
Thank you, Dr. Toombs. Another legendary figure, a close friend of yours who recently passed away in the last couple of years is Boke TKO. Can you please say a few words about him as well?
Yeah, man, that was my little homie, man. That was my brother right there. He was a big guy. You know what I mean? It was like have some more and man. He was a big guy. And he was going for his shit. And so when I knew that there was problems here in LA, I knew that he was going to back down from nothing. So I sent him out to the Midwest. And he got mad. He was like, no, dude, I'm with you. I'm your right-hand man. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be with you. And I go, no, dude, you got to get the hell out of here. That's like you get shot all the time. Nobody wants to fight you. If they do, I'm going to send you. I don't know anybody. I know people. So I sent him out there. And he made a life, started tattooing, opened up shops, and everything good. And every Christmas, Thanksgiving, we would, get together and go on cruises and go to Mexico and party. And, we had a good life. I planned on basically leaving California and moving where he was at and just kind of like helping him with his kid and his business and everything. So I was in the process of taking everything I knew and everything, all the hookups I had to help him grow, and then he passed away. And it was devastating for me. That was one of the reasons why I just stopped, enjoying graffiti. And I stopped for a while and started having a life of my own because I just stopped having fun. It stopped being fun, and it was more like just fucking tragedy after tragedy. A lot of hurt feelings of sadness, and now it's just like, this is not fun anymore. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have a different life, and then we'll see what happens. And fate brought me back.
Understandable, man. I'm sorry for your loss. Another well-known figure from TKO is 47er, who is no longer with us for quite some time already. Can you please educate us on who 47er was?
Oh yeah, no, 47er was an LA writer that and he was down. He was almost like Bolt too. He was down for his shit. He was a crazy motherfucker, man, and he was real down for his shit. And fortunately, he ended up getting cancer and got really sick. And I remember the first day I even knew that. He was at my house and he had like a tumor on his leg, and there was other guys there and his girl. They were kind of like laughing about it or whatever. And I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? What is that? He goes, oh, I don't know. It's just like a growth. I go, gee, you gotta go to the doctor. Like, you fuck all this. This ain't funny. So I made an appointment to the doctor I was going to so they could check it out. And he promised me, because when I took him there, they said, no, he has to go to the UCLA. He has to get a specialist. And he promised me he was going to go, but he let that go for a while. It just got more serious. And, he ended up passing away over it. And, we got to take care of our health, Like, without health, you're not going to be able to paint. You're not going to be able to do nothing. So that should be the number one priority for all of us.
Right. I'm sorry for that loss as well, Dr. Toombs. It sounds like you were trying to help the young man as well. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out, Dr. Toombs, I recall meeting you about 20 years ago, and back then you told me you didn't drink or smoke weed. Is that still true?
Yeah, no, I don't drink.
Why don't you drink or smoke weed? Can you please,
I guess I have to be in control at all times, I guess, It's a personal thing. If I lose my cool, then my boys lose their cool, and bad shit happens, So I gotta be on point at all times to make sure that everything is straight.
You're known for being good friends with a hip-hop innovator and one of the first people to bring weed to the forefront in rap music, Be Real of Cypress Hill. Does he ever try to get you to smoke weed or try it?
No, I mean, I remember one time I was I think it was around Thanksgiving or something, and he had the weed out there, but he doesn't push that on anybody. He's a smoker, he's a real smoker, and he smokes weed, and then, when it comes to that, it's a real social drug, and if you wanted it, you would ask him, and he definitely share it with you, what I mean? But, he's never asked me if I wanted to, I never showed any interest that I wanted to, so I never did. I've been in the room while they're fucking smoking it up and the whole shit's out box. But, I'll step out after a while or whatever,
How do you and Be Real come to meet each other? Was Cypress Hill already well known when you meet?
Oh yeah, definitely. No, I was working for Priority Records, doing street teams and promotions, and I seen that their product was in the trash. So I picked it up out of the trash and I put it up. And one of their members that worked for them, their tour manager, saw me and automatically assumed I was part of the. At that time they were signed to Graff House, Columbia, but I worked for Priority. So he passed by and he goes, "Hey man, we're over here chilling, jump in." And I was like, "I'm not part of your street team." And he's like, "What? I just saw you smash this whole area." And he goes, and I go, "Well, I grew up in that area and I like it. So I see that your street team and we're shit." And they threw it in the trash, so I put it up. So he said, "Yo, please come with me." So he took me back there and I met Be Real, DJ Muggs at the time was Cypress Hill, and Zindo. And Jack and Duke. Jack and Duke just early started and were signed to Be Real's label. And other people were there too, like Mr. Cartoon was there, Stephen Oreo, and other people that, were part of that whole Soul Assassins team. And he was like, "Yo," and he just told me that I did that. And he goes, "You know what? From now on, I'm going to pay you directly. Fuck my label, street team, whatever. Come to my house, pick a product," and that's how it formed, really. They saw that I didn't have to do that. I was getting paid doing that. But I was a fan. I liked the music and it was my area, and I felt like that, they should be more respected.
Wow, incredible story, man. Did Cypress Hill, anyone in Psycho Realm, know you were TOOMER? When is that revealed?
Oh yeah, well, I was already up on the streets, and artists, rappers, or whatever, musicians, they're humans too, man. They drive by it, they see it up. I remember Snoop Dogg commenting about seeing a big ass TKO on 10 freeway. One time I did a video from. So they have eyes too, You have, art, actors that see it up. You have politicians that see it up, Everybody, gangs, That's actually saved my life a couple of times, jumping into gangs in their hood. And, the reason I smoke me is because, "Oh yeah, I've seen you up, oh yeah, I've seen it." So, you know, rappers are humans too, man, and they drive areas too. And they have eyes, they could see it, so they knew who I was. Like, you got to be kicked out of it. What better way to promote than a graffiti writer? You know, we're out there all the time.
Another legendary figure who was just all over the Olympics, Big Snoop Dogg. Can you tell about first meeting him? What type of person is Snoop Dogg for those of us who've never run into him before?
Oh, he's real cool, man. He's real mellow, you know. When I met him, I thought he was real, like, almost like pimp-like, you know, a little smooth, you know. Well, I worked for Priority Records, and at that time, Priority Records was a distributor of Death Row. So I was doing all Death Row stuff. So I got to hang out with Tupac, and I met Snoop Dogg, and Shania and Corrupt, and everybody pretty much from Dr. Dre, everybody from, because I worked for Priority. I was seeing Eazy-E too, because he had distributed for Ruthless Records. That's Eazy-E stuff.
I'm not sure if you've heard of this comparison. I've heard it a couple of times. People often compare Suge Knight to Dr. Toombs and Death Row to TKO. Have you ever heard of that comparison, and what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know. Whatever. I mean, as a businessman, he was smart. He put all the artists at the time in the West Coast together and blew up. He took it away from the record labels that were stealing their money. And because he was just a security guard and was working for the record labels, and he saw that, his record labels are stealing from the artists, and he got the money from, a drug lord in prison, and he started Death Row, and he started pushing that. But again, egos and attitudes and beefs and people stealing and people trying to take advantage will do shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, it'll turn people bad. It'll turn people into doing crazy shit because you're bombarded with a bunch of haters. You're bombarded by a bunch of stuff like that. So of course you're gonna react to it. You know what I mean? It's kill or be killed in these streets.
Dr. Toombs, another well-known group you're associated with is the Psycho Realm. Can you talk about how you first meet them?
I was that same day when I did the Cypress Hill stuff, and they were under B-Real's record label, and so the product that I was getting was their new product. B-Real was from Psycho Realm. It was B-Real, Duke, Big Duke, and Sick Jacket. That was the Psycho Realm. That was the first album they did, the Psycho Realm, and it was them together.
When you first hear and see Psycho Realm, what are your thoughts? Did you know they would be a huge success?
I did, yeah. I definitely, the first time I heard, because they were telling our stories. They were telling stories from Los Angeles. So of course I liked that because I'm from Los Angeles, and they were real, and the beats are dope, and the stories they were telling was about Los Angeles. That's what rappers are, storytellers, and they're telling the story, And we're visual artists, graffiti writers are telling a story about Los Angeles and their music. So I was a fan. I'm still a fan of Psycho Realm. I'm still a fan of my boy Sick Jacket,
A fun fact, Dr. Toombs, you appear on a record with Sick Jacket and Be Real. Can you talk about that rapping career?
So I don't even know how it came to be, but I'm glad I did it because it combined TOOMER with B-Real, which made him happy because he didn't have, at that time, he didn't have a collaboration with B-Real, Cypress Hill, very famous rapper, and Sick Jacket. But I think it was somebody came at me about promoting myself more, and they were like, yo, we should make a song about graffiti and make a song about TOOMER. And so then I commented on, I think it was Jack, I didn't think it was B-Real, I think it was Jack. And TOOMER, they go, yeah, man, will you guys do it? Hook me up, And they're like, yeah, we'll do it, but you gotta fucking come out too. And I was like, nah, man, they're like, dude, you gotta rap too. So it was DJ Disky, he was at TOOMER's pad, everybody used to kick it to the Visionaries, like just all these different fucking groups would be at TOOMER's pad all the time, And we started, I was looking through beats, and I liked that beat from Disky, and I said, all right, this is it. And then Sick Jacking had a B-roll, and he goes, hey, you know, our brother Toomer is gonna fucking do a rap song, and what do you want to jump in? And he goes, yeah, for him, I will. And he did, you know. And after we did the song, we shot the video, and that was fun, you know. If you see the video, all up in it, like the first verse, obviously it's me, and the cops are coming and raiding the house. Chimes in it too. She jumps on the back of one of the cars that's trying to arrest me. But I play one of the officers kicking down my own door. I'm like the last cop in, and then on Sid Jackin's part, I'm painting the gas mask, the famous gas mask, behind him while he's rapping. And then in Tumek's part, I'm at the train station when he's walking by. I'm with my hood right there. And then in B-roll's part, I'm painting the Cypress Hill skull in the background. And he's rapping, you know.
What's the name of the song that you're on?
Death in Retirement.
Do you write your own lyrics?
Yeah, no, I did, but Tumex was like, okay, well, that doesn't rhyme with that. You know, put this together with this, and then Jack came and was like, you know, you should do this and this and that.
Will we hear any more rapping from Toomer in the future?
They choose me a lot. Like, they want me to do something. And again, you know, if it's fun, I'll do it. I mean, it's not like, I wouldn't call it a career thing, because it's just fun. It's just, you know, if it's fun, I'll do it. If I, you know, I don't care if anybody listens to it or anything, but if it's fun, yeah, I'll do it. I have a good time doing it. You know, I'm in a bunch of videos now, like a lot. Like this thing, 4 videos coming out, either by Christmas or after Christmas. I'm all up in there. You would think I'm fucking rapping, you know? I was in the El Fantasma video. He just did a song. He's a famous regional music, like the legal singer in Mexico. And he just did a song with Sick Jackin'. And I'm in that painting. And I'm in you know, Sick Jackin' is coming out with a dope-ass Spanish album, like all Spanish album. I mean, sick as fuck. And so I'm in that video, you know. We filmed it in Mexico City. And that's dope as hell.
Dr. Toombs, thank you again for joining us and sharing your incredible history in our studio tonight. Now, as your career continues to evolve, Dr. Toombs, in Los Angeles, we begin to see a new name on the streets. It's everywhere, but nobody knows who it is. T-Lokes is born.
That guy again. You know, I'm tired of people mixing me up with that guy.
Wow! MF T-Lokes! Incredible! Bro, can you please tell us, what does T-Lokes mean? Where does the name come from? Can you please share with us the history, the origins of T-Lokes?
Well, T-Lokes just means Toomer Lokes. And, you know, some of the people I met in my life were, you know, they got sick of saying the whole word Toomer, so they would call me T. And Lokes. What's up, T-Lokes? What's up, T? What's up, T-Lokes? You know, so I was like, hey, that sounds pretty good, man. You know, back then, it's not like now with all these clowns putting a letter and copying Lokes at the end of it, pretty much swinging on my nuts. Before, I was the only one doing that. I was only putting Loco or Lokes at the end of one letter of your name, you know? There was nobody else doing it but me.
You put in so much work with Toomer, years and years. Why do you switch to T-Lokes?
The police. You know what I mean? I got raided and I just, you know, and also too, you have fun with graffiti. You have fun with letters. You want to change it around. You want to do something different. So I felt like it was time to move on. You know, with Toomer, I did TOMER, you know, Toombs, 2MR. I kind of like ran out of ways of doing it. So everybody in my regular life was just calling me T-Lokes. What's up, T-Lokes?
How do you feel people view the name T-Lokes? Are you a villain? Do you embrace the villain role?
Fully embrace the villain role, you know, because no matter what I do, I go save puppies out of a fiery building, and people are going to be like, you probably set the fire in the first place, you know what I mean? Just people are corny like that. You know, no matter what I do, I'm always gonna be a villain. So fuck it, let's be that villain. You know what I mean?
Were there other names that you considered besides T-Lokes?
T-Nuts. I mean, like nuts is the same as loco. You know, T-Steak. You know, a lot of my friends are calling me T-Steak too, and I've done some T-Steak pieces and shit. But I like T-Lokes for the fact that local, you know what I mean? I'm a Chicano. I was born in LA. It brings back my West Coast roots of West Coast graffiti, West Coast, you know, type of art, which comes from, you know, pachucos and the cholo culture of, or placazos, you know. So I like mixing that up. You know, now I brought the graffiti version of TOOMER because it's more of a graffiti hip-hop style name, but with loco on it, and it shares my Mexican roots and my Chicano-ness and everything, you know. So I like it all. I like it all, but it's hard to explain that in other countries. I think a lot of writers in different countries like Mexico thought I wrote T-Lock. You know, they didn't understand the loc part of it, you know. But I did an interview in Spanish once, and I corrected that, and everybody now pretty much knows it's Toomer Loco, or T-Lokes is Toomer Loco, or T-Lokes, or T-Loke, you know.
In Los Angeles, we start seeing T-Lokes everywhere. Did you enjoy having an alter ego where no one knew it was you? Because everyone was guessing, who is this guy? Where did he come from?
Yeah, no, in the beginning it was pretty cool. I remember one time I went to 7-Eleven and I hit up some writer as T-Lokes, and he was like, I know your big homie Toomer. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, tell that motherfucker I said fuck him, you know? So I've always had that little, you know, battle between alter egos, you know? Toomer is more of the young generation kind of dude, and T-Lokes is, you know, he's an old man, you know what I mean? Like, so I have fun with that too. And when I go to other countries, they don't know I'm Toomer. You know, they're looking at me like I'm just started writing graffiti, you know, as T-Lokes. So I like that too. It's cool because then they start talking about old school shit and they think I don't know nothing about it. And I was like, man, I was writing longer than you know? So it's cool. It's cool to have another ego. And again, like, you know, all of it's not real, you know. The persona you meet me as Toomer is different than the persona you meet me as T-Lokes, and then my real whoever I really am is different from that too. So it's fun. It's like acting, you know. You play different parts.
The name T-Lokes is making noise on the streets. It's ringing bells. And soon you start painting an outline of T-Lokes that becomes your trademark signature, like a stamp. How do you come up with this famous T-Loke throw-up?
Well, the actual letters, if you really look at it, it's a font. It's like the lowercase Old English letters. You see how it kicks the top pointy and the bottom pointy? It's kind of like the lowercase Old English letters. And then my iconic sugar skull in the center comes from my roots, making my own toys as a kid, you know, my mom being Mayan and all that. So, you know, the sugar skull comes from that, and it's a good luck sugar skull. And then, you know, it's been good luck for me. You know what I mean? Like I've done well with it. And you know, I used to do the Toomer bears, right? The T-Loco teddy bears, where it came from Teddy Loco or T-Lokes or whatever. And that was just a marketing thing for, you know, regular people to not be scared of the skull, you know, make it more fun, because Dia de los Muertos is not Halloween. It's supposed to be festive. It's supposed to be something you celebrate your ancestors that passed away, your people that you love passed away. It's supposed to be joyous. It's not supposed to be Halloween. So my skull is not like a scary, like, villain skull. It's more like a happy sugar skull. It was a candy that kids would make and give out, you know, on Dia de los Muertos, you know, in Mexico. So I made it more like that.
I also noticed that you repeat the same throw up every single time. Again, like I mentioned, like a stamp. Is that a key strategy in graffiti?
Yeah, of course. Graffiti is marketing. You have to do your logo. For anybody that has a throw up and you're changing around 50 different times, what are you doing? You got to have one stamp. You got to love it though. You got to enjoy doing it. But you have to have one stamp you do over and over again. Look, Nike, Apple, Disney, they got billions of dollars to change their logo whenever the hell they want. They could hire the best artists in the world, but they don't, because that's what you ride in. You got to commit. You got to be, this is a logo, and you got to, every time you paint, you're promoting for the future. You don't know what the future brings. You don't know if that logo becomes iconic and you start selling t-shirts or art, you know. I got an art show coming up September 14th where I'm, you know, showcasing a lot of different art of that. And my, you know, what I like to do and having fun with it. And so that logo has to be your stamp. You know, I got it tattooed on me several times, you know. There's people I've tattooed on it. I've tattooed at least almost 100 people, girls, guys. You know, they like that good luck skull. They like my sugar skull, my T-Loke skull, you know.
As we mentioned in our intro, T-Lokes, you not only brought one name to legendary status, but two names. Can you please share with us what the key was to bringing the second name to that level?
Well, I had to kill the old man. He was getting on my nerves. You know, TOOMER was just too fucking militant in his thinking. He wasn't having fun with it. So I had to get rid of that guy. So I killed him off, and I made T-Lokes. And then, you know, that's when I left the areas that, you know, TOOMER was doing, and then I traveled around the world with it, you know. And again, graffiti has to be fun or you're not going to do it. If it becomes a job, if it becomes something that just terrorizes you all the time, you're not going to do it. You have to have fun. You have to figure out a way to make it fun for you, your friends, and everything. And you know.
You started tagging, doing throw-ups. Now you're doing pieces and characters. MF T-Lokes, what do you credit to becoming so good? Is it practice? Were you born with the talent? If you have any tips for up-and-coming writers to improve, what would you share?
Repeated painting over and over again. And also, too, looking at other writers' paint is very important. Don't fucking interrupt them. Don't talk. Just stare at them. See what they're doing. Catch different styles. And when you paint with different... Because I've painted with writers from all over the world. You know, different... Some of the most famous graffiti writers on the planet I've painted with. You know, and so you pick up things from them. If you're smart, you'll pick up little things, little, you know, doodads here, doodads there. And you'll remember it next time you paint. Especially now. I think now I'm having the best time because now I'm doing characters too. And back, you know what I mean? Before I had a talking, you know, a lot of artists are real dumbasses, you know what I mean? Like they're real, it's almost like they're emotional wrecks, dude. Like a lot of artists are like suicidal and depressed and like all kinds of shit. They have to deal with their crap. Now I'm in-house. I'll do it all by myself. I don't need to paint with nobody else. I do the whole thing by myself, and I enjoy it that way because you don't have to deal with somebody that's like, I don't want to do that, or like, I think we should do this. And I came up with so many ideas, so many walls, and now I I have the freedom to do whatever I want. So I'm having the best time of my life right now. I think right now is the best time. You know, and again, I'm the kind of writer that I don't care if somebody likes it, I don't care if somebody sees it. I'm doing it for me. And it's the best time to do it when it's for you.
MF T-Lokes is also responsible for another historic event in this era. An old rivalry with another well-known crew is dropped. After 20 years, a rivalry is settled. Can you please talk about how that came to be?
Well, I got a call from one of the homies that, you know, they reached out to him and they asked him, is it possible that we could start even talking about disarmament and stopping the whole thing? And a lot of people were, no, hell no, and this and that. But the way I looked at it, it's a lot of the people that are in this crew right now, they weren't even around when that shit started. They had nothing to do with it. And if you're a real leader and you care about your people and you care about your homies, you don't want them to go to jail and you don't want them to die. So you have to make the decision. No matter how angry or how many bad things have happened to you, you have to let it go. And you're not the same person you were 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 years ago, you know? You keep changing. So my decision to make that happen was easy because I care about the people around me. I'd rather be the one that gets it. I preferred being the one that got killed instead of going to funerals of any of the people I care about. And you live long enough and you start seeing people die, it affects you forever. So I prefer dying myself than going to anybody's funeral, you know? And so when they approached us about that, it was, you know, of course, you know, I've lost some members because they weren't going to do it. So I was like, hey, you're thinking about yourselves. You're being selfish. You know what I mean? You're being selfish. I mean, the whole beef was fucking ridiculous. And, you know, to begin with, that should have never happened. That should have never happened, man. And it did. And there's nothing you could do, you know? Nothing you could do but, you know, pray for the family and you know, and all that and stop it from ever happening again. But LA, you know, you could get into that shit just going to the market and somebody, you know, getting crazy on you and you have to deal with it. You never know. Every time you go outside, every time your loved ones go outside, it could be the last time you see them. Either they get killed or they kill and go to prison. It is the way it is in LA, unfortunately, and that sucks, dude. So the only thing you could do is try, you know, if somebody comes at you with peace, dude, you know, and you're an adult about it, you could be an adult about it, you know, you can go heads up or you can squash it or whatever. You know, you don't have to involve everybody that rides with you. I got homies that don't even write graffiti that are in gangs and shit that were going to ride. Secretly, we're going to fucking ride hard. I don't want them to go to prison either. I don't want to be responsible for any of them or they could have been walking with me or going somewhere and they could have got it. They could have missed me and hit them. So I couldn't do that no more, dude. I had to fucking, you know, talk to them and we're holding it. It's been hold for a while now. It's been a couple of months now. And, you know, anytime anything even remarkably close to that happens, we'll talk about it this time. You know what I mean? And we'll settle it. We've checked. My homies that try to do something, we'll fucking check them. They'll get fucking beat up, you know? And hopefully they're doing the same on their side. But there's no reason for them to ever put hands on anybody I know. And there's no reason for us to ever put hands on anybody they know. And if we just keep it that way and just go about our business, you know? I know they've seen me on the streets and just drove away. I've seen them and I just like, whatever, you know what I mean? I let them live their life, let me live my life, and that's it. And, you know, we don't have to be best friends or fucking any of that shit, but we don't have to fucking destroy each other. You know, we don't have to kill each other. We don't have to do that shit. We could coexist, you know? And we could do that with any crew if they're, you know, willing to do that, you know? Like, as you get older, like I said, you get old enough to either regret your life or become a villain, and you have a decision to make of where you want to go with it. I could have easily said fuck no and kept going on it, but at what price? How many more lives, how many more fucking problems, how many more everything, you know? So I said fuck it, and whatever homies didn't like it, they could fucking go, you know? Tequila's always rebuilt. I've always been here, and then bam, you know? And plus, a lot of people don't know that we have fucking full-blown cliques in Europe and Mexico and in Canada and other states, you know? They're only thinking about this little couple of mile radius of Los Angeles and not understanding the global reach that we've gotten. I think right now, at this point, one of our best cliques is Mexico. They're fucking bad, dude. They got the throats unlocked. They got the fucking pieces unlocked. They got the characters unlocked. I mean, I got some talented brothers over there. And so do I in France, Marseille, France. You know? And in fucking Canada, the homies. I mean, like, I have a lot of fucking brothers all over the world. And wherever I fly around the world, there's somebody at the airport with a sign that says TOOMER, and they drive me to where I gotta go. So that's fucking dope, man. It's dope to fly around the world and you got brothers there, you know? And yeah, I don't even speak French. I understand a little bit of it, And not all of them speak English or Spanish, but when it comes to Europe, if they don't understand English, they understand Spanish. So it's good to know two languages, And of course, I speak fluent Spanish, so I go to Mexico or Latin America, and I'm good there too,
T-Lokes, besides being a legendary graffiti writer and artist, you're also known for producing the successful series of War 42 videos. I'd like to ask you, where do you get the idea of these videos before social media and Instagram?
Well, those videos came from Kenner. That's why the videos are called War 42, Kenner 42. So him and a couple of his homeboys had the videos, right? And it was mostly skating and just shooting around, homeless people arguing. And that was before felony fights and bum fights and all that too, And so then, when he was more on the TKO side and more coming around, I was filming something called Bombing and Bitches, which never got completed. And that was me hanging out with all these different rappers and, females and, low riding and just having a good time on the streets. And so then I gave him the footage, but I didn't trust that he was not going to put some corny ass rock music to it. So I was more telling him, put this guy and this guy. And we're also responsible for a lot of rappers too that didn't get, a lot of play back then. But when we put them on the war videos, they blew up. Rappers from the Midwest, rappers from LA, a lot of the songs that were in our videos blew up big time and made them blow up. And they remember us. Some do, some don't care, but some do.
Will we see any more upcoming War 42 videos? What's the plan for the future with the War series?
I think some other guys are filming it from out of the country. And, they're going that route. Me, like I said, right now, I'm more focused on just having a good time with Graff. I'm not worried about the fame part of it. I'm more worried about just having a good time, Yeah, I'll do interviews here and there, but it's to promote something. Like I'm promoting the art show, or I'll promote a book, or I'll promote like a future movie or something, toy line or whatever, what have you. But it's not my thing,
I understand. You're also part of a well-known, maybe even legendary documentary called Infamy. Can you please talk about your family's reaction when you told them you're going to be part of this documentary?
Well, my family doesn't even know what the hell that was, you know what I mean? They don't think that graffiti would ever amount to anything, I thought it was just doing fucked up shit. So when I told them about that, I didn't really explain to them because they wouldn't understand it. And when the film crew showed up to my house that time, they were really insisting to talk to my mom because they didn't tell us like this is a recipe for infamy. This is what's going to happen. At least not to me. I don't know if anybody else that was in it was told that. Like, for instance, me and Claw were good friends before that video, She used to come to LA. She lived in LA with MQ, And so I was hanging out with them way before Infamy and painting with them and going with Claw and painting and all that way before Infamy ever happened. And I knew one of the main directors from that film, Roger Gassman, So he was a writer too. So I knew him. And of course, I was from AWR and MSK. And so I knew Saber too. And, so there's a lot of writers that I knew already from there. And the way they went to pick who they got, I have no idea how they went on that process, but they called me one time. They were like, hey, we're doing this documentary about graffiti and want you in it. And I go, fuck no. I'm not doing that shit. I'm on probation. Like, I can't do that shit. And they're like, well, how long you have left? And I go, shit, it's going to be forever because I'm not paying that shit. And I'm paying them like $5 a fucking month. So they're like, well, what if we pay for that shit? And I go, yeah, when do we start filming? So I was the only writer that got paid to do Infamy because they paid off my fucking probation, and then we started fucking shooting, Like nobody else got paid for that shit that I know of. You know what I mean? And so they paid for my probation to be done, and that was it, man. I fucking started shooting, and I wasn't promoting art on that show. I was being real. I was telling stories that really fucking happened. So it came from the heart, you know what I mean? And I think that's why some people gravitated to my character, quote unquote, in that show, or they gravitated to Claw for being the female writer there, or they gravitated to, I don't know, Earsnot for being, coming out as a gay writer, or Jace as, his family, Vietnam story, about his, about his dad and train painting or saber,
When the Infamy documentary comes out, what was your mother's reaction to seeing herself featured on it?
Oh, she just laughed. She just laughed and was like, I wish graffiti wasn't the way it is, or I would have took her to the premiere when it premiered in Hollywood, but I was just scared that something would have happened. And my biggest fear is that, like I said, I don't care if I get killed, but if somebody I care about accidentally gets hurt because of people hating on me or whatever, I would never be able to live with that. I think I would go fucking scorch earth policy, just psycho on everybody if somebody I cared about got hurt. You know what I mean? I know I'm a wolf, and if another wolf gets me, then I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. But civilians should never be fucked with, And so she saw it and she just laughed, She's like, "Oh my God, look at what you're getting me into," like in Spanish though,
MFT Lokes, you've always been ahead of the curve before social media. As a matter of fact, you're one of the first, if not the first, graffiti writer to start painting on naked women. Can you please talk about how you first had the idea? And what are your feelings about it now when there's whole websites dedicated to painting graffiti on naked women?
Well, when I was doing that was the era when I was working for Priority Records, and we would go to Papas and Beer in Mexico and party, and everybody would get fucked up and party, and we had all kinds of girls, dude. We had all kinds of girls, man. We had like packs of chicks hanging out with us, partying with us all the time, different chicks, and we'd all go back to this fucking house we used to rent in Papas and Beer, and girls are doing what girls do when they drunk and partying, and there was so many of them. I was like, what's the marker at? Let me catch a tag on you, or get the picture so my other homies that are locked up could see it, or other people that are not there could see it and enjoy it too. I was always sharing all the adventures that we did. And
what do you think about you being on the forefront of this new genre, and now there's websites dedicated to it?
People are gonna, there's people that don't know a lot of things that I started and did. Like I said, I don't care about that shit. Like, to me, I know what I did. I know how many. I got the photos. I got the videos to prove it. I was on Playboy TV, painting on a bunch of naked playmates. And I've been on a bunch of porns, doing it. For Reality Kings and Bang Bros. I have almost 100 photos of women that I painted on. I think a lot of these young writers that paint today don't know that I've tagged on their mom's asses and titties. You know what I'm saying? And if they knew all the shit that their mommies were doing back in the day with fucking Big T over here, they'd be pretty shocked and pissed off. But yeah, think about that one. All you little young writers, your mommies were fucking hanging out with TKO back in the days. Believe that shit.
MFT Lokes. Now, I want to move on to some personal questions. Starting off with the name T Lokes. How do you feel you're perceived within the graffiti community? Are you
villainized?
Do you feel people try to disparage you and not give you the credit you deserve? Are you underrated even?
I don't fucking care, bro. Like, really, dude. Think of it like this. Toys do it for attention. Writers do it to get respect. And legends don't give a fuck. we don't give a fuck what you think. We don't give a fuck what you're doing. We're just gonna fucking paint and do our shit. And it's up to you to decide if we're good or bad or any of that shit. And again, anybody who thinks they know me because they met me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 5 years ago, are fucking wrong. Because they don't know me now. And all humans evolve and we all change. And, you know, we get worse or better. Or we stay neutral, you know. But it's just the way it is. But if they want to put me as the boogeyman, well, boo, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like,
In your long historic career, MFT Lokes, has there ever been an instance where you thought about quitting? And if so, what led up to that?
no. But I went to live my life. I'm sure a lot of suckers think it was beef or it was the cops or, you know what I mean? Or like, I quit, like, I'm sick of this shit. Like, no, I decided, hey, I'm going to run out of time to have a regular life. If I've been writing since I'm 13, you know, damn near past my 30s when I got married, dude. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck, dude, like, what if there's a whole other world that I'm missing out on? And I'm glad I did it because I have, like I said, I have friends that don't even write, that never wrote. And I would have never met them, and I would have never got married, and I would have never did any of those things, and you know, went on the vacations I went on and met the people I know now if I didn't do that. So it's not like I quit. It was more like, what else is, you know, I could do something. Because everybody else around me at that time, they had kids, they were married, they had regular jobs. They weren't doing what I was doing 24 hours a day. There was a lot of rare fools that weren't doing. They were like, oh, you know, I paint when I party, or I paint, you know, on the weekends. Like, I was full on that shit. I was 24 hours, that was it. I killed the original, whoever the hell I was. I didn't even recognize that guy, and was full on a graffiti writer, and that's all it was, you know?
MFT Lokes, you're now an international celebrity. You've surpassed fame in California. You surpassed fame in Los Angeles. You're worldwide now. What does your family think about how far your career has come?
I really don't have any family left. After my mom passed, it's just me.
MFT Lokes, as you mentioned, recently, unfortunately, your mother passed away, who's been a huge part, not just of your life, but your alter ego. She's the one that named you twice. Can you please talk about losing your mother and the effect it's had on you for those of us who haven't gone through that yet?
You know, it was bad, but I got to spend the end of her days taking care of her and being with her. So if that was the price of staying away from Graff for a while so I could spend time with her and focus on that instead of being on the streets and painting all the time, then I'm glad I did it. You know, my conscience is clear of how I spent my life taking care of her and love her. And so I know she's in a better place, and we'll all get there one day. And the way she raised me, with the whole Dia de los Muertos and that whole thing about not being scared to death and not being, you know, I gotta live it, right? I gotta nut up or shut up. My logo is a sugar skull, Day of the Dead. I gotta understand that this is not everything. We die here, but we go somewhere better. So I was raised that way. I was raised not to be thinking of death as something morbid, you know? Every time somebody died around me, I would always be the first one taking care of that, you know, funeral arrangements and dealing with all that. And, you know, people were like, you're very brave, you're very brave. It's not so much I was brave, it's the point that how I was raised, not to be scared of death, not to look at it as something morbid, but something joyous that, you know, I know when I die, I hope all my homies celebrate it, you know, hit me up and know that, damn, you know, TOOMER did it. He got to die. He deserves it. He deserves the rest that he's getting. Like, be happy for me that I got any sucker that hates me and wants to smoke me, do me a fucking favor, really, because however you want to call it, my name will fucking be in graffiti forever. And even more so if I died in that way, you know. They'll martyr me in a way, you know what I mean? It's not like I want to go, but I'm just saying, like, if it did, then I'm fucked, dude. How many fucking homies I got around the world that's not going to be putting up my name forever? And I don't got to fucking waste paint or fucking do it myself. It's the best fucking gimmick I could come up with. I've faked my own death. You could Google shit, be like, Toomer, rest in peace, died. I did that. You know, the song, Death or Retirement, at the end, it's like, you don't know what happened. You know, they look at that video, it's like, oh, dude, is this a documentary? Like, this will disappear right after that. It was all planned. It was all part of the marketing fucking strategy. Just like this will promote the show, and then that show will promote another, and on and on and on. It's all part of the whole fucking... It's kind of like graffiti, you know? Like vandalizing marketing-wise, you know what I mean?
MFT Lokes, thank you for sharing your words of wisdom. Now, moving on to the current election season, actually. Recently, you painted a Trump mural that was depicting what America would look like under the rule of Trump a second time. Did you catch any backlash with your political graffiti? And is political graffiti a new genre that you'll be tapping into?
You know, it's part of anything you paint. And I don't even understand why graffiti writers would back any politician. I mean, they all fucking hate graffiti. They're gonna take you to jail. Like, you're a fucking idiot if you want to fucking back up any politician. It's just fucking stupid. But, I mean, Trump is a fucking moron. You know, like, how the fuck America got to a point where that's what we gotta fucking deal with? There's so many smart scientists and doctors and scholars, and that's what the fuck we got, and it's because of social media. People believe the fucking hype. People believe the fake Fox News shit. People believe all that shit. It's like, you know, the same thing about tag making. Fox 11 News said it, so now it's in everybody's mouth, but, you know, who the fuck are they to fucking make up shit, you know what I mean?
Is MFT Lokes ready to announce who they will be endorsing for presidency?
I mean, I would fucking vote for a dead person before I voted for that idiot. You know, the racist moron. I mean, just period is a moron. You know, like, come on. So the real war in the world, as I see it, is a war between intelligent humans and stupid humans. And that war is raging and been raging since Homo sapien took out Neanderthal. And it's been happening, it will happen forever. There's smart humans that survive all kinds of shit, and then there's stupid idiots that fuck it up. And so that's what's happening now. Like, a lot of people across America are brainwashed from some idiot that's making up stories about immigrants being the worst fucking shit in the planet, and you know, oh, they got welfare. Like, you can't. Anybody that has EBT or ever had an EBT knows that an immigrant can't get that shit because they don't have a fucking social security card. So it's all fucking stupid. But they believe that crap. I mean, I remember one time I was in Louisiana, and Trump already got elected, and there was this lady that looked normal to me, like an older white lady, and she was like, I just don't trust that Muslim Obama. He's a terrorist. And I just couldn't take it no more. I turned around and said, so are you saying after being president for 6 years, and he has like 2 weeks left on his presidency, he's gonna launch nukes now? He's had fucking nukes for fucking 6 years, you fucking moron. He didn't do shit. And on top of that, he's not a Muslim. You know what I mean? Like, just because he has that last name don't mean shit. He was a good president, actually. But people are fucking idiots. They believe the hype. They believe, oh, but Trump gave us money in the pandemic through stimulus. No, the Senate did. That wasn't Trump money. They called it that to make you think, but they don't even understand politics. So if you don't understand politics and the way fucking the Senate works, the way laws work, or the way, you know, bills get put in, or how the fuck can you comment on that shit? You know what I mean? And why would a writer even comment on that first place? It's like, you know, who's a better cop, the LAPD or the sheriffs? Like, man, fuck both of them, dude. What the fuck you talking about? Like, are you fucking even go on that? I put that as a fucking joke. Every fucking thing I paint now is a joke, because I'm having fun. So if you take anything I put on the wall seriously, you're a fucking idiot. Like, it's just fucking fun. It's just fucking poking fun of everything. You know what I mean? Like, I've poked fun of myself on walls. I painted a character of me that was kind of funny. I mean, like, I made fun of my own homies all the time. It's just, I'm having a good time. Leave me the fuck alone. Let me do me.
Thank you, MFT Lokes. Thank you for sharing this different side of you. It's interesting hearing your personal thoughts and outlook. Now, I'd like to move on to talk about this current era, beginning with the Oceanwide Towers. Do you recall first hearing about the Oceanwide Towers, and do you make an attempt to go up there to place a T-Loke?
I was there early, actually, before it got all fucked up like that. And I was in the parking lot right across, and my homegirl Diamond was already up there. My homie Poets was already up there. My homie Action was already up there. And my homie Bale was already up there. Already was up there painting. I think Darren was up there too, and a couple other guys that we know. And I was sitting there, I saw these fucking young fools, going, just running around doing that. And I was like, I had the paint, and I was there, and I knew how to get in, and I could have easily had my crew run that way, piss off the cops, and then just walk up there and do it. But I just thought to myself, like, do I really need it? You know what I mean? Like, when you have the type of notoriety that I have, you could choose what you want to do. Other fools that are there, I feel, not everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people went over there because it's out on the news more as a, oh, this is my chance to get famous. This is my chance to get attention. It's all over the news. But, bro, I already had that. I've been on the news. I've been on the Los Angeles Times. I've been in magazines. I've been, to me it was like, yeah, I could go up there and do some shit, or I could fucking sit here and watch all the fucking action from the street and just watch the circus happen, And I did. I pulled up right there and chilled.
Besides the Oceanwide Towers, MFT Lokes, what do you think about the graffiti state of affairs these days?
Well, it's different from back in the day. I feel it's changed a lot, Some for the good, some for the worst. But, back in the days, it's about getting a spot that was super hot where everybody's going to see it, And now it's about getting a spot and then marketing it and promoting that spot so millions of people around the world can see it. Because it's cool that, people in LA see it. But when you leave Los Angeles and you see that nobody even knows who the fuck you are because they don't live in Los Angeles, then you're like, well, okay, how can I have people from Australia know who I am? How can I get people from Canada know who I am? How can I get people from Mexico or Latin America or Japan know who I am? How do I do that? Like, it's cool you got, people in LA, and a lot of writers want people around here to know who they are. But what about if you want to leave the country and you want to be known? I'm happy with what I got and how, somebody's at the airport waiting for me. I say this a lot, joking around, but I'm your favorite rapper's favorite graffiti writer. You know what I mean? Because I go on tour with fucking different rappers, and other rappers are there, and they get a kick out of me talking about graffiti or painting graffiti in front of them in another country, and they're like, "Oh shit, I remember you back in LA." So it's how you go about it, The state of affairs of graffiti here, like I said earlier, toys want attention. Writers want respect, and legends don't give a shit either way. We just do what we do, and we continue to paint, and there's a lot of legends out there. And LA has made a lot of legends in graffiti. So has the East Coast.
MFT Lokes, thanks again for joining us on this incredible interview. Now, I want to ask you, you have over 40 years in graffiti culture. Your name is recognizable all over the globe. You're successful. You're a married man now. Why do you keep writing? What's the point? Why do you risk your life and freedom to catch illegal spots?
Well, I just catch spots, period. Legal or illegal, whatever I could get my hands on. But, this is something I recently, it just came, I don't know the word, epiphany maybe is the word for it. But, and this is not religious in a sense, but it's spiritual in a sense that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And anytime I walk away from it, life is not happy. I'm not happy. And then how can you make other people happy if you're not happy? I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And, you know, of course, law enforcement will be like, man, fuck you, get a life, you know, and other people that don't write graffiti don't understand that. Like, you're too old for that shit, you know what I mean? That's why I have a sexy nurse, to make sure I'm healthy enough to paint it. I don't know if you've seen her earlier with my fucking alter ego TOOMER, but, you know, she checks me. I make sure I'm all right, you know what I mean? I got a couple of different nurses like that around me to make sure I'm okay to do it. Don't worry, guys. I'm getting taken care of. I hope you guys got what I got like that. But anyways, this is what it's supposed to be doing, bro. You know, everybody that lives their life is supposed to be doing what they're doing, and there's no other way they could have been doing it. You know, whether it's the universe or God or however religion or however spiritual you want to look at it, you're supposed to be doing what you're doing. You're on your journey, your life journey to learn and grow, and you're supposed to be doing it. So if you're a graffiti writer and your family fucking hates you because you do that, and you have no reason why you're doing it, you're supposed to be doing it. And then not just that, if you're, you know, into sports, if you're a musician, if you're a DJ, if you're an MC, if you're any kind of artist, you know, God is living through you and your adventures. You know, you don't know if God wants to be a graffiti writer. You know what I mean? And he's getting a kick out of fucking me painting on stolen land and shit anyways. Like, you know, I said it in Infamy, like, you know, you're mad at me because I painted a fucking freeway, dude, but you took a whole fucking mountain. You took a whole country, you know? You think the natives think Native Americans think it was okay for you to fucking, you know, carve that fucking Mount Rushmore fucking white faces on, you know, colonizers onto a fucking mountain? Like, you know, that's not your fucking mountain. That's God's mountain. You know, that's everybody's mountain. You know what I mean? We got a fucking border across fucking different lands around the world where humans cannot migrate and see their loved ones, dude. That's from balls. You know what I mean? So you want to tell me how the balls I have to paint it? Shit, I learned that shit from my country. They got fucking balls to do all kinds of crazy shit. They got to invade other countries, do all kinds of crazy shit. I got the same fucking balls they got. That's why I get up and fucking paint shit. And it's because this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I really believe that shit wholeheartedly, 100%. And whatever fucking consequences come, either death, prison, or fucking whatever, you know? This is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing it. There's no other way I could have lived my life.
Thank you for those wise words of wisdom. MFT Lokes, as we wind down this historic interview, how would you like to be remembered in graffiti culture? Not just Los Angeles graffiti culture, but worldwide.
It's already happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, people already know. So I'll be dead, right? Like, I won't know. So it doesn't matter. If you live your life thinking that kind of shit, you'll never really accomplish nothing, you know? If you care about other people's opinion, you're not going to do anything. You're going to be scared to do anything. You're going to be like, oh, what are these guys going to think? Oh, what if these guys don't like it? Maybe I should stay home. Like, fuck all that. Just live your life in anything you do. Don't worry about what the other guy thinks, because you don't care what he thinks. He don't care what you think. Just live your life, man. Don't worry about that shit. Who cares if nobody remembers me? Shit, I had a great time. How's that? I fucking did all kinds of fucking shit.
What do you feel is next for TOOMER and T-Lokes going forward?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I could fall down the stairs right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what could happen. But I could tell you this. If I were to die in 10 seconds from now, I know God will be like, well played, dude. Well played. You did all kinds of shit. And I've had a full life, bro. I've traveled. I've had fucking badass bitches that are like way over my pay grade. You know, I don't know how the fuck I calmed them motherfuckers, but I did. And I fucking had fucking dope cars and, you know, dream cars. And I fucking had a great life, dude. I had a great life. And, you know, it was a lot of bad, too. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, but that's life, dude. Nobody's fucking 24 hours happy, you know? Everybody has issues.
MFT Lokes, I always ask all our guests to give us their top 5 all-time list or their Mount Rushmore of writers. Can you please give us your top 5 graffiti vandals of all time?
Yeah, and I'm gonna do it on purpose because I think a lot of writers don't do that because they feel like, I don't want to feel like I don't give a shit. I'll tell you who I think, and there's more than top 5, but I'm gonna just leave it to 5. And at the top of my head, Slick, right? Tempt, right? Gin, right? Fucking Risk. And you got to throw Hex in there. Like, these dudes should be pillars in LA graffiti history because they really, they did it. And they did it dope. You know what I mean? And all in different ways, but they did it, and they should get their flowers or what have you. You know what I mean?
Definitely a legendary list. Thank you for sharing it with us. Now, MFT Lokes. Hopefully, people are watching this interview 20 years from now, 40, 60 years from now. If you could say anything to any future generation of writers, what would it be? Any words of wisdom, advice?
Stop painting graffiti. Leave it up to the professionals. They're wasting our fucking walls and paint. We'll do something else. Get into fly fishing or some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, just give it up. There's so many other things you could do in your life. If you're doing it for fame or to be sponsored by a paint company or some corny shit like that, dude, you're gonna suffer greatly. Do some other shit. But if you really have it in your heart, you really fucking, this is what you're supposed to do, you really feel like the way, a lot of writers feels like this is our path, this is what we're supposed to be doing, then commit. Fully commit. I mean, fucking dress up like a fucking character with a goddamn throne, have a fucking model come up to you in it. I mean, just go full on. There's a lot of hidden meanings in how I did this. The artist, MF Doom, Doomale, he did all this. He had different characters, he basically trick the industry, and for him to get paid for production, for different characters, like the dude was a genius. And that's why I picked this, because people thought TOOMER was a different person from T-Lokes, and it was the two egos and personas, and MF Doom did that. That's what he did. So this is kind of a play on that, you know what I mean? And giving him his flowers too, because he was brilliant, musician and artist and rapper and producer and, really smart, because he used to rap back in the days, and then kind of chill for a little bit, and then he came back as that with a mask and persona, because he was like, it's not about me, it's about the character. So yeah, I could come out here and show me and, be all egotistic and all that shit. Or I could come like this, give him his flowers, and be more like creative with the interview. And good luck to the sucker that follows this one, you know what I mean? Like, I hope you rent a tiger or some crazy shit. Come in dressed like Voltron or some shit.
Definitely an incredible interview. TOOMER, T-Lokes. Thank you for joining us once again and giving us a peek into your mind and what makes you tick. We appreciate that. Now, as we close the interview, would you like to give any shout outs?
No. I mean, like, not really. No. Fuck everybody. And not in that way. Not like, I'm mad at anybody or anything, but it's like, come on. Everybody knows I love them and they're the homies and shit. If I fucking give you 10 people, 60 motherfuckers are gonna get mad. So how can I do that? We'll be here for fucking 4 hours. You know what I mean? If I give a shout out, somebody's gonna get mad about it. So how about I just say, fuck all them dudes. I mean, like, we're here to do the fucking Toomsday show. Let them do whatever the hell they fucking write show, you know what I mean? And God bless them. But again, I don't want to offend anybody by missing somebody out. And I don't have a script here that tells me everybody I know and all the writers that I know around. You know what? I do want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to rappers, Fucking B-Real from Cypress Hill for always being cool. Fucking Sick Jackin for fucking, I'm a fan, he's fucking dope as fuck. My homegirl Reverie, you know what I mean? She's fucking putting it down out there. Shit. the people that helped me with this, you know, Imperial fucking surfaces, you know what I mean? Like, they're not writers, so they're not gonna give me any shit, and they're already fucking famous. So, you know, my sponsor for the art show, you know, Mark Peach, you know, Todd at the gallery, you know, these are people that don't write, you know what I mean? My co-artist that I'm doing the art show with, you know, Cope 2 and 3rd, that trusted me into putting something dope together, you know, September 14th at the Mission Viejo Mall, you know what I mean? So I'd like to thank all the writers in Los Angeles for fucking, you know, writing. That's it. Everybody that writes graffiti, you know what I mean? Unless you're some fucking idiot that's fucking going over my shit.
Dr. Toombs, MFT Lokes, thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to attending the Dysfunctional Function Art Show at the Mission Viejo Mall, Saturday, September 14th, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. TOOMER TKO, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this historic interview about your fascinating and legendary career. We wish you the best going forward and hope to have you back in the future for an update. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of GRAFFTV. This has been graffiti's supervillain, TKO of the TKO crew.